and welcome to episode 23 of Les Oderants. In a week that saw Elizabeth Holmes of Theranos sentenced to 11 years, I think, for fraud, we are here to perpetrate the second greatest fraud of modern times, the Les Oderants podcast. I'm joined, as ever, by the fraudulent Ben, Fliss, and James. Say hello.
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 Hi.
Hi. Hi. Excellent. Good. That was properly coordinated shit. I reckon, if we were like on a TV show or something, we would be like super coordinated and everyone would say, look at these professional guys. They really know what they're doing. Anywho.
Would you be Philip Schofield, Dan, if we were on TV?
Would I be Philip Schofield? It seems unlikely. I sort of feel like there's some sort of...
smooth, though, isn't he? He is that kind of totally smooth, got it all. I think he'd be more like one of the guys that does the SAS programme. You know that SAS?
What, Phil Mitchell?
You're talking.
Yeah, no.
Mitchell.
There's those two really cool guys who are like totally fit, but they're kind of suave and they're all caring, and they've got, they're soft side, but they're also really hard, and they're like ex-Marines, and they're like, package, aren't they?
Are you talking about like that SAS Who Dares programme?
Yes.
Yeah, and yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take that. I'm now feeling...
Sort of like that, but also sort of like Chris Morris from Brass Eye.
Exactly. Yeah, a bit like Chris Morris. Or the guy from... Nathan Barley. The guy who owns the newspaper, Jonathan Yeh.
You really are like
Jonathan
question mark. I'd love to talk the balls off this, but I've got a 10:43. Yeah, yeah, he's my kind of guy. Anyway, this has been obviously a fantastic introduction to the podcast, and I'm sure everyone's riveted.
Smooth.
Nobody outside the UK is going to understand a single word for the first 7 minutes.
No.
Amazing.
Well, as ever, it's smooth as what, James?
Well, I go swimming now, and I'm more sort of hirsute, and it's like fucking wearing a jumper when I go in there. It's like my back is like a mat. It's like throwing a fucking carpet in there. So maybe I could do with having a shave, But
I was going to say you're not waxing for.
No, I'm not. I don't take it that seriously. Yeah.
Nice. I mean,
anyway,
this is a world of great images. I'm digging it.
I'm drinking again now as well, even though I shouldn't be. But I was just like, fuck it, because I sound too husky on here. I'm like fucking Mariella Foster, so I'm I'm not as sexy as her, but yeah. So I'm on the booze.
Nice.
That was
okay.
it.
Well, I'm looking forward to you hitting the booze hard throughout this episode and becoming increasingly volatile. In fact, I might duck the booze and just go directly to you for your full 14 to open up with. I know from previous experience that the full 14 can take quite a while, but this is largely Fliss's fault. I blame Fliss.
I will take that blame, and as a listener, I used to love the full 14, so...
Oh, thank you.
Good.
That's okay.
Good.
And I
but,
also...
But as a participant...
No, I also was about to say, I also enjoy participating in the full 14, and I will jump in whenever I feel like it.
You sound like you're choosing your words incredibly carefully this evening, Fliss.
I have nothing, just get on with it.
Okay, yeah.
Get the fuck on with it.
Get on with it, motherfucker.
Okay. Here we go. So the first day I wore Versace Oud Noir Pour Homme. Anyone familiar with that?
No.
It's it kind of smells a little bit like what does it smell like? A little bit like Royal Oud by Creed, a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a kind of oud base or like an oud sort of approximation. There's a Firmenich one. There's a few by different things, but there's quite a sort of famous one that's in quite a few of those designer ouds. Clearly not oud, but It smells a little bit like, I get this kind of blackcurrant. You know, there's like blackcurrant licorice sweets that you used to get that you don't really see anymore. It's a bit like that. And it's a bit like the original Versace Man, just the normal man, not the blue man, the purple man with the like jaggedy outside. Do you know what I mean? No, it's like a kind of square bottle with like jaggedy outside. There's one called O.
So I'm having real difficulty for some reason getting Versace right in my head. I keep seeing, I'm sort of closing my eyes and visualising, but I just keep seeing Valentino fragrances, which of course is a different brand altogether. So yes, I don't know. There's some. I'm going to just go seek therapy.
Yeah, let's not spend too much time on it. I really like it in terms of like designer ouds. I think it's about 80 or 90 quid still, which is kind of like, if it was a lot cheaper than that, then I'd probably get it, you know, and have a little, you know, a little bit of fun with it occasionally.
Sweet.
But it's, as such, it's too expensive. So anyway, then...
Just as a quick aside, do you guys like Royal?
Yeah, I love it.
What do you think of that?
Really?
Yeah.
I used to like it, but it just there's something, I don't know. It's that pink pepper and wood sort of thing. Just I find it quite grating.
You'd fucking hate this Versace then, because it's very similar. Pink pepper, like say that kind of blackcurranty, false oud wood kind of like vibes.
Yeah, I found also. Royal Oud for me is one of the least interesting creeds, in the sense that it's very linear and it's really, I just found it really quite boring.
It's really boring. I really hate it, and it's got this gacky kind of like pink, like you say, that pink pepper and galbanum kind of middle that like gets to the back of your nose.
You sound like you're talking with like a mouthful of dick or something there, but I don't know what's going on there.
You know how you said you can't please all the people all the time? Well, sometimes Ben can please fellas with his mouth. Which sounds atrocious, but if you knew the conversation we were having before, it's you know, it's perfectly reasonable.
Sometimes I wonder whether we should share some of these thoughts that we have. I mean,
probably best just to leave that one there. Just let people wonder.
No, fuck it. I'm going to explain. Because I think it's worth explaining. Ben actually, has a very successful, not like this, completely different, a very successful podcast in and of itself called Dark Histories. And Ben did tell me that someone contacted him to tell him the lovely feedback that when he talks, he sounds like he's got a dick in his mouth, which I thought was like, I don't know. I think that's sort of simultaneously like detailed and insightful and creative, and yet horribly offensive and kind of just generally unpleasant. I think it's a brilliant piece of fan mail.
Yeah, I actually thought it was quite astute, because I thought
That's quite astute, actually, because most of the time when I record it, I do.
I do have a dick in my mouth. I don't know how they knew. No, I wonder if it was because I had dentures and they were like, oh, I can hear something in their mouth. Or they were just being, it was either that or they were just being really offensive. I don't know.
To be honest, mate. I love the way that you're prepared to see that perhaps they were actually, they were really onto something. They'd seen. Yeah. Anyway, this.
I like to try and find the best in people.
This seems to be like a dark alley we shouldn't go down. Let's reverse back up. Let's get on to item number 2 on the full 14. Have at it.
So the next,
because it does take a long time.
It takes a long time because we keep interrupting. I mean, if he was just going to rattle off 14 fragrances, it'd be fucking easy.
That's true. That's true. So, yeah, Chanel and Teus, which I just wear as like a default thing. We've talked about it a million times. We know what it's like. It's great. Then I wore Nikolai Patchouli Intense, which I actually think I hate now. I actually think I hate it. I did like it at first. Oh, just a bit of related news. I just saw a story by Christophe Laudemiel, who was outside. He was on like Palais Royal or whatever in Paris, walking his dog. And he went, hey, look at this. Here's a perfumer that I really admire. Let's have a look in her shop. And he's looking through the window. It's all closed. This is Sunday afternoon or whatever. I mean, it's closed every fucking afternoon in France, isn't it?
Yeah.
They just go, oh, I'm going home. See you later. Then good for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's looking through the window and he said, oh, she's doing like a colour test here or something. She had them in the window, all her little mods on the side. And then he said, look at this. And he kind of focused his camera and there's her perfume organ and there's her desk just in the shop. Like, I didn't know that. Like, she just sat there working and she does a perfume,
Who is it?
Patricia de Nicolai.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, you can just look through the window and I'm assuming you can just go in because he was like, oh, I want to try this one and her fig one and a neroli one. I've not tried those and I'm going to go in there and stuff. So I'm assuming you can just go in and talk. I don't know if you can just go in and talk to her, but there's like a window. You could go up and like lick the window and like watch her working. And yeah, just maybe she'd let you in and you can have a chat with her. I don't know. But I think Patchouli Intense, I really liked it. I kind of weirdly like it. I don't know. It's got this grainy, weird texture. It's so relentless. It's just, it's weird. I don't even know how to describe it.
I found Patchouli Intense to smell more of lavender than patchouli, and not in a pleasant way. In quite a sort of wet, sort of poorly formed, kind of just bleh kind of way. That's how I sort of found it. I bought a bottle, loved it briefly, and then just grew to hate it very rapidly. It's actually weirdly same experience as for Creed Royal Oud, which I did love enough to buy a bottle and then just was like, no, I fucking hate it. You know, there's something I just can't stand about it.
How weird is this? For a perfume that I just said I don't even like, I've got 2 bottles of it.
That is weird.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because I received a bottle of it from the thing from when I ordered it directly from the brand, and I was like, "Oh, right, great." And I got it out the box, and it had New York Intense on the label, and I smelled it, and I went, "No, this is
New York Intense.
Patchouli." Yeah, and but to be honest, I would have been glad of another New York Intense. I was like, "Oh, right, okay." And then I complained about it, and they sent me out another one with the proper label on. I mean, it's a bit of a daft thing to complain about because I did order Patchouli Intense, and that's what I got, just with the wrong label on. But I told them about it, and they went, no, we'll send you another one. So I was like, all right. So I've actually got a Patchouli Intense.
That's
with
really
a
annoying
New York...
now because it means you can't even sell it on the grey market because you can sell it and it's got the wrong label on, so no one's going to buy it.
I can sell it for a bit more, maybe. I'll go out to
it's like an error,
special,
like one of those, like on those on those eBay coin things, where they're like, oh, it's got like an error, and they go for
exactly.
Like a pound goes for like £1,000, that kind of shit.
Yeah, exactly,
okay,
that
cool.
kind of shit. Yeah. So
excellent.
Anyway, I can still like smell it on my like Fliss and stuff like that. It's just really brutal.
It is really
and
strong.
Not really patchouli, not really. I don't know what it is, but it's madness.
Well, I thought it was lavender rather than patchouli. Definitely wasn't.
There is a lavender, like there's definitely like a lavender sort of like top note, but all the underneath gubbins of it, like I say, I can't even describe it. I don't even know how I've described it in the past. But anyway, moving on. So YSL Jazz, which I know Fliss loves. I loved it. I loved it like back in the day when my dad used to wear it and when I used to wear it in like the fucking 90s and whatever. And then I just never replenished a bottle of it. And then it became like a thing where, it's discontinued now and you can't really get it. And, it's ridiculous prices. And then they made those little ones that they re-released in the square bottles. So you could get like M7 and all that. So I got that. And to be honest, it's so good. It's so good. I mean, it's like one of those under the radar, like people go, there's loads of better stuff from that era. Really? Like, it's got little aspects of everything. It's got that other YSL one that I really liked with the kind of lemon and the sandalwood and the thing. And then it's got a bit of like, what's it called? What the fuck are they called? Czar. You know the Czar?
Van Cleef and Arpels.
Van Cleef and Arpels, yes. So yeah, it's just got everything, and it's amazing, right? It's dead subtle, but it's just dead good. So the last 2 or 3 times that I've worn that, I've had like an amazing day where I'm just like, this fragrance is just so.
That's because you're just in silhouette with like a big cello and like a saxophone, and you're just like moving through life in a big silhouette in a suit.
Exactly.
That's basically what
in like a
happens.
zoot suit. Yeah,
you're just totally smooth. The lights behind you. You're in New York in just a silhouette. That's how it
Lovely.
works.
I've always been a big fan of a zoot suit. I think it's fashion really needs to get back around to that.
Me too. Those shoes as well, those fancy shoes that they have.
Amazing. I noticed, by the way, that Jazz is still available on the YSL website, interestingly.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's probably because people bought up the other ones and maybe didn't. I don't know. Maybe it's still in production. Who knows? But good.
It's on the YSL website in the clear, cubic sort of bottles with the big.
Cool.
But it's just for me. It's absolutely of its time. And I remember my very first boyfriend at school wearing it and it being very evocative. But I also remember the first time, like looking through Vogue at that point, and there was this guy called Oswald Boateng, and he was the first real black suit designer, and he used to do these dark suits with this really bright lining, and there was an advert of him like reaching out for a taxi and the bright lining, but then at the same time on the next page there'd be the Jazz advert of all the guys in the suits, and it's all kind of that same. It was so cool. I just remember being about 17 or 18 and just thinking both of those things are just so of its time and just so cool.
How mad is that you said about Oswald Boateng? Because I'd never really heard about that until, it was like a bit of a blast from the past. And then I saw a documentary the other day. It was really good, actually. It was on Channel 5, which is usually shit.
I saw this. I know exactly what you're going to say. Yes,
Brian Cox.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was really good. It was excellent.
And they were in the Oswald Boateng shop.
He was phenomenal. He was absolutely, and he was so cutting edge at the time. And all of the suits have these cool linings now, but at the time he was the first guy on Savile Row to like do that bright pink, bright yellow, bright turquoise. It was so late 80s, early 90s. And the Jazz for me is the same thing. It's that cool. I'm so cool. I'm so cool.
I have to say,
the old bottle used
the piano
to be
one.
so cool as well. I like it. Yeah. With the 50-50 like black
it's
and
like
white.
A piano key, black and white bottle. But I have to say, I quite like Jazz. But I put Jazz, and you'll hate me for this, James, but I put it in the same sort of category as Cacharel Pomme, which is a sort
good, because that's another amazing perfume.
Making some sort of like exasperated face noises.
Good, because Cacharel Pomme is also really amazing.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
I agree.
Right,
I love that one.
Okay, well, let me finish, you pair of fuckers. I put it in that category, which I'm going to describe as lesser 90s. Sorry. Honestly, I just don't rate either of them as top tier beers.
I think it came out in the 80s, but we'll give you that.
Actually, I'm gonna change my wording there slightly. Sorry, I don't mean they're lesser. What I mean is, I think they have not aged as well as others from that era.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
They smell dated in not a great way.
I get what you mean, and I like to say I would never, dispute that or whatever. I just think that you're wrong. No. I just think that
I can't be bothered to argue with you about it.
No, I think that I completely understand why, because some things are sort of under the radar, and it didn't stick out perhaps as much as some of the other stuff. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I can concede that people feel that way about it, because it's not that sort of revered in the vintage kind of thing, as far as I know. Like I say,
it's not in any way. I bought a bottle of Cacharel Pomme from Dan really early on in our kind of getting to know each other, kind of in the frag-com kind of thing, and I don't have it anymore because I've used it up, because it's so delicious.
Wow.
Spray.
I haven't. So you know that scene from True Romance where Christopher Walken shoots what's his name's Christian Slater's dad, and he says, "I haven't killed anyone since 1982." That was my Christopher Walken.
That was
impression.
pretty good, yeah.
Anyway, I feel that way about perfume. I have not finished a bottle of perfume since 1982.
I mean, it was a partial. It wasn't a whole bottle. It was a partial, but it's not here anymore.
Nice. Your granddaddy, what a watch up his ass. So, anyway.
You had to, I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. Yeah. So, anyway. My phone's got locked. Right. So
number 3.
Number 3.
No, it's number 5. It's number 5. Okay. So I wore Golden Sheeper by Grossmith, which again we've been talking about for ages. I don't know why. I just wanted to wear it. I know Ben's got it. He loves it. Dan loves it. Have you tried it, Fliss?
I sold it. Fliss would. Oh
well. I mean, it's easy come, easy go. You're selling, buying, you do whatever. Do you know what I mean? I'm admiring it from afar. That's what I'm doing. So, well, maybe one day I'll get it. I don't know, but I'm not. Then the next day, you'll be pleased. This lovely thing arrived. It's got some weird stain on it. So,
nice.
I don't know what that is. It's something weird.
So for the benefit of our dear listener, this is Marbert Man.
Marbert Man, yeah.
The German-engineered eau de toilette, and I was going to send James a decant of it, and then I realised it was probably cheaper just to order him a bottle off Amazon than to actually post the fucking decant. So that's what I did, and it arrived. I just went very high there for some reason. I don't know quite what's going on with my voice. Ben, could you try and fix that in the edit and make me sound a bit more masculine, please? Thanks very much. Right, James, what did you think of Marbert Man?
Loved it.
Really?
When I first sprayed it, I was like, oh, is it going to be one of those kind of slightly chintzy lavender, loads of dihydromercenol, just a kind of really shitty thing that you would expect to buy in B&M bargains or whatever. Or, other stores are available.
Ben
it's
still doesn't know what B&M bargains is, by the way.
No, but I'm starting to think that I should, because I saw a post on Reddit the other day of someone with Jaws cereal from B&M
Jaws?
bargains.
Jaws?
Jaws as in the big fish film.
Cereal as in breakfast cereal.
Breakfast cereal.
Cool.
That
sold in B&M bargains.
Weird combination of things.
It's officially licensed.
I know, but it looked it.
I think I did.
We're going to need a bigger bowl.
I bet you would cut that out, Ben. That's too funny.
No, that's the best joke of the year. Let's save that up for Christmas.
I'm so happy with that. Thank you.
Right, that's it. We're jacking in for the night. We're not finishing the 14. That's it. We're done.
Drop the mic.
Yeah. So no, I loved it because when it dried down eventually, and then when I resprayed it another day and all that, I was like, no, it's actually really good. It's mainly a lot of lavender in the top, and then when it dries down, it's just manly, kind of woody but slightly powdery business. I really like it. I think it's really good. I'm happy to wear it, and so it's great. Thank you for sending it me. I really appreciate it.
Good. Glad you enjoyed it.
So then I wore Hermès Agar et Bien. Anyone know that?
Hermès Agar et Bien. And no,
yes.
Do not know this.
It's a kind of wonderful, lovely, very suitable for this time of year, kind of spiced. Again, with that synthetic oud, let's play around with a really woody, resinous sort of perfume, but we all know there's no real oud been near it. I don't think anyway. And if there is, maybe there's a token, little bit that's real or whatever. I don't know. But It's fantastic. It's one of those from the Hermescence line. I got it in a little 4, where you get like 4 travel sprays for like 120 quid or whatever. And it's excellent. It's really, really good. And I recommend anybody to wear it. It's got like different like facets, and it's fun, and it's like warm, and it's just really nice. And I don't think anybody's cloned it. Maybe somebody has, because a lot of those Hermescence, you end up, there's a Parfum de Marly that's like that, or there's whatever there. So, but
there's a Soma Parfums that's like that.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, someone wrote a review of one of my Somas, Halcyon, saying that it was basically just a fucking dupe of Amber Narguil, which it's not.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
I can see the resemblance, so fair enough.
Okay.
Anywho.
So anyway, then we have Victor and Rolf Spice Bomb. So we're getting up to Christmas. I fucking love that, man. Really? I love it. It's Olivier Polge again, who was in my basement, remember?
Yeah.
He made that. It's fantastic, man. It's a bit of a sledgehammer.
In your basement. I think I took him off your hands.
Oh, you did. He's in your basement. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. I'll have a word with the cunt.
Yeah. But, I mean, just from marketing point of view, it's a fucking hand grenade. I mean, how cool is that? And also, a lot of the flankers are shit. Some of the other versions that were mildly derivative were okay. But the original one is I love it. I mean, it's really... It's actually a vibe that if you kind of go back and sort of think about the other perfumes that have had a little bit of that to them, I would say Gucci Pour Homme 2. Is that the blue one? That has a little tiny bit of that pink peppery spice, blah, blah, blah. Maybe, Dan, I don't know, maybe you don't like that because it's really amped up in Spice Bomb.
I mean,
it's
I
very
sort of
sweet
quite
spice.
like Spice Bomb, but I don't know, maybe... So Spice Bomb smells like just about everything else to me, although I suspect probably Spice Bomb was the thing that created that sort of genre of fragrances almost. But there are a lot of fragrances that smell like Spice Bomb in some sort of way.
Well, I'd like to say I think the sort of lineage, if we're going back, goes through Gucci Pour Homme 2, which has a tiny little bit of that. Obviously, it has the tea, and it's a completely different fragrance in a lot of ways. It's very like ghostly and sort of musky, whereas this is like really warm and like full on and sweet and spicy and stuff. But you can just get a little bit. It's almost like there's a little bit of a like really, really diluted down, like tiny little bit of Spice Bomb in that. And there's another brand called Henori. What are they called? Hanamori. Hanamori. Sorry, yeah, that one. Him, which I've also got.
That's actually really good for a fucking. I mean, it costs like £8 or something. It's ludicrous.
Yeah. And that's a fantastic
really good
one.
Yeah.
But again, these are not clones. These are all. They have a little bit of that you can just go, oh right. And then Spice Bomb was like, take it to the absolute. Let's really explore this one.
Let's explode
like
it.
A chord.
Let's turn it into a bomb.
Well, exactly. So I really like it. I mean, you like Ben sounded really surprised when I said that. Are you not a Spice Bomb fan? Or
no, not necessarily. Just like just being a bit snobby really about it, because you tend to think that Spice Bomb's kind of a bit sort of trite. Do you know what I mean? But it's not. It's it's just being a snob really, which I am.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. Well, we're all snobs in our own particular way. Especially Fliss. She's the fucking worst.
The next day was Blue Cedrat.
Oh,
Blue Cedrat.
That's one of those impossible Comme des Garçons bottles.
Yeah, that's right. So it's like a kind of weird little pebble. This is amazing, right? It's like a reimagining of a eau de cologne type fragrance, but in like a really hyper like modern art gallery kind of take it to the like extreme. It's really what is it? I mean, it's obviously mental citrus that's just like relentless, but it's also kind of slightly like petitgrain, but it's not. It's like, in fact, what is it like? It's brilliant. Anyway, I love it.
Right.
I can't. I just can't remember like what I said about it or what's in it. I mean, I could like get this out and start like dabbing it on myself. And yeah, I mean, it's very green. I don't think you'd tolerate it, Dan. I don't think you'd like it, but it's very like woody, and it's got loads of like cedar, obviously, and like citron, like that kind of whatever cedrat means. Cedrat is like some kind of citrus fruit, isn't it?
Is
it? Yeah.
I always sort of assumed it was like cedar. I thought it meant cedar.
Yeah. There is loads of like cedar in it as well, but sorry, Fliss, go on.
No, I'm just looking it up right now, and it's like a really knobbly lemon that's huge. I'm just
huge knobbly lemon. I think you just described James.
I'm just looking up. I just googled images, and there's like a man with like it's bigger than his head. It looks like a big knobbly lemon. That's what a citrat is.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Okay, so there you go. It's a spectacularly good perfume. All of those blue ones in that thing, the incense one, the sandalwood one, the cedrat, they're all really great. And I love Comme des Garçons because they just do like unapologetic, like, yeah, it's a bit synthy, but that's the whole point, you know, come to space with us in the future. So anyway, yeah, I don't know what I'm on about. So
I get it.
Then the next day, I wore a Xerjoff Ascot Moon, very kindly sent to me by Ben. I fucking love it. I went back to a review from like 2000, like years ago, and I was like, oh yeah, I really liked it then as well. So basically, it's got this really earthy, like opening of like flinty kind of like almost like smoky, like earthy patchouli petrichor vibes, but like nice. It's kind of like stony, like earthy and stuff. And then it's got this really warm musk like base underneath, which lasts for ages, and it's just really nice. And I love the way that those like the interplay of those two things, which are quite opposite. I mean, it could be an all-out weird perfume that just is like that earthy kind of thing all the way through, and that would be fine too. But the fact that it has this kind of, again, the duality that I love about perfume, it's really warm, gorgeous, musky, dry down base. I think it's excellent, and I'm not a big like lover of Xerjoff, but that join the club like thing, I always like that. I don't like the exclusivity of joining clubs, and I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah, we have.
That like it's funny that we all kind of really quite like that line, even though it's possibly one of the more twatty like Xerjoff kind of concepts. Do you know what I mean?
I like some of the line. I don't think anyone likes all of them. I mean, if they do, they're twats, or they're probably posting in that That's Amore group. And
yeah, I think they're quite interesting though. I do. Even the ones that I don't like Birdie, which is fucking awful.
That's the one that I really hated. That and Don, I couldn't get on with at all.
Commandante as well. Yeah. Commandante and Birdie is just repulsive.
I know nothing of what you speak.
Okay, well, anyway, we shall have to educate you.
Oh, I don't know.
But like Ivory Root, and there's like a powdery kind of vanilla-y floral.
I tried Ivory Root, didn't like that at all.
Really?
Did you not?
There's nothing to dislike about it.
Well, I just found it very middle of the road and a bit blah. I was like, oh, fuck off.
It is quite blah.
Yeah, I just wasn't like, because it gets a lot of love, and I was expecting to be like, oh my God, I need it. I wasn't.
What else have you got in your list?
Lalique Homme Equisse, which is...
is that the one that smells like Creed Royal Oud? There's...
No.
No, sorry, not Royal Oud. Bois du Portugal.
Little bit, I suppose. Maybe you could get that from it. I see it. I love Lalique because so the formulas are really kind of, you could say cheapskate, you could say like thrifty or whatever, but they're very like they kind of almost, because they know that the main thing about their whole is the brand, that even if you're buying a cheapo kind of thing, it's still in a beautiful bottle, still really nicely presented. Their brand is kind of that like Grossman kind of accord, you know, that whole like, let's make something really minimal like woody, but then the stuff that actually sticks out that makes it what it is really quite great, you know, the little bits of things. So this has like a peppery nutmeg, juniper, like woods to like the top of it, and then it's just basically loads of ISOE super and just like things, but it doesn't annoy me, crucially, because it doesn't just, all that top stuff doesn't just fade and go down, which is one of my main pet peeves about those kind of minimal modern perfumes, that you're like, yeah, you get a bit of excitement to begin with, and then that's all it is in the dry down. It's just like, well, if I made a perfume like that, I'd be like, well, it's not successful as a perfume because those top notes, those little bits of things that I put in, or the mid, didn't last all the way through, you know, it didn't carry it enough, so you can't get away with that minimal, like, cheap structure, basically. And that's what I think Lalique do really well, and especially in this perfume, they're kind of like, it's just really good. I really like it. You still get the pepper, you still get stuff that you got when you initially sprayed it. A little bit of like nutmeg as well, maybe that kind of like nutmeggy sort of vibe. It's great. It's great.
But the whole of that Lalique, I mean, all of Lalique stuff you can buy for like chips on eBay. That's the weird thing about it. It reminds me of that kind of Bentley, or, you know, there's really cool, like, we sell really expensive cars, we sell really expensive vases, but our perfume you can buy for 20 quid on eBay.
Cheap as balls.
It's mental.
Well, you say this, but what I think they're trying to get away from that, and they released a sort of higher end range, which were all in sort of coloured bottles, but I mean, they hold no appeal to me, and I expect that they will be equally discounted as shit shortly anyway.
Well, they thought to themselves, we're missing a trick here. We should be, because we've got an established brand that like people will pay the money for. Why the hell aren't we making a, you know, that's what I think it was. But I think what they do best is that core stuff that they do. I mean, they still must be profitable. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure they're not fucking, it's not like a, you know, a loss thing. It's just to be out there, and that's an extra like string to their bow. There's actually a glass shop in Chester that just sells like glass stuff, and they have the Lalique perfumes in there. It's not a perfume shop. They don't. Nice. Do you know what I mean? But it's all they sell is glassware, and like proper glass by like, you know, real artists, like blown glass, like vases that are like $3,000 and shit. Like I can't afford them, but they look great. And the only place that sells Lalique perfumes is in this weird like glass shop. So yeah, I used to go.
I always
in there
thought it was weird, like for a glassware designer to make shit bottles. Like it's almost like devalues their brand to a degree. Like you think,
which bottles do you think are shit?
Well, like, you know, like Encrenard Sport. Like what's the other one that's just
they're
like
nice
a
bottles,
plain?
do you not think?
I mean, yeah, but they're nothing. You would expect like a glassware designer to make something super jazzy, right?
More ornate.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I think the ones, not the Equus ones, but that the one that they have used for the new expensive range, this sort of rectangular thing, they've used it for other perfumes before, but now they've just added colour to it. I think they look really, really nice, but I can't think off the top of my head what, you know, the first one was called. Like something with a Voyager or something like that.
It's not Comedia, is it?
Yes, the Comedia
bottle's very
bottle,
flashy.
really, really flashy, and it goes for like a fuck ton on eBay. But that's like a beautiful bottle. If you look at something like Pearls de Lalique or the Amethyst stuff, it's not nice.
Yeah, they're not great. But think about it, that a lot of those perfumes have a secondary posher bottle that you could get it in.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
or they did a special edition or whatever. Yeah. So I think for what they do, especially the fact that we're picking these up on eBay for fucking cheap as chips, I think what they do is like better bottles than most brands. In fairness, but I get what you mean. Like the Lalique White, that's not a particularly great bottle. Like Pearls de Lalique. I mean, that is probably the cheapest bottle and actual perfume like ever, probably.
It's just a bunch of Isoe Super, basically.
Yeah.
I've got L'Insoumise, which someone sent me, which is actually a very cool bottle. I'm just trying to find the fucking the name of the one that I used to have that was in the same bottle. Hommage à l'homme, a voyageur, Lalique. And that bottle is a sort of Art Deco-y type bottle. And it's actually very, very nice. It's very clean sort of lines on it, and they've used that for the new Ponzi range.
It's a nice bottle, though, isn't it? Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a boring perfume.
Their Soleil, they recently brought out in a litre bottle, a litre in full Lalique crystal for like £1,000. Some ridiculous amount of money. It's like,
and in the words of Fliss, who the fuck would need that much of any perfume?
yeah,
You can get that.
Fuck buys a litre.
There's that Prada one, isn't there, that you can buy? That's like is it Prada Pour Homme or something like that? Like, and you buy like fucking like 2 litre bastard bottle of it. Has anyone ever seen that?
It'd have to be.
It's
a 2 litre bastard bottle.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's a technical term.
Technical term.
Yeah. Anyway, James, carry on.
So then Friday, I wore Chris Roussac timbre, as in like tonal...
Tone.
Tone, yeah, timbre. But it's also a clever kind of play on like, it's, vibrations of a frequency on a string or whatever, and also like timber,
Wood.
I kind of wood. So it's a really woody perfume, and he's a perfumer from. He lives in California. I think he's from the other coast originally, and he's an interesting kind of guy because he's gone slightly reclusive. He used to be very active on social media, and he's not so much anymore. Which is probably just realised that like it's fucking bullshit. And people really connected with his perfume. Like, I know a lot of, the sort of old usual suspects on Instagram who like that sort of indie side of things. But what I like about Chris Roussac is he's got like a real, almost that minimal Lalique approach that we're talking about. That he's not, he loves, in fact, I think this contains a raw material that he actually harvested himself. So he lives in California, and he went out and got some, it's called Coulter pine resin, because he actually sent me some of it like powdered in a bag. I mean, getting that from America literally looked like fucking meth or something. And he like sent it to me like in a baggie, and I'm surprised that got through fucking customs. But it smells amazing. Do you know what it smells like? Scotch tape. That like real smell of like a fresh Scotch tape. So quite synthetic. This is the thing that people think, oh yeah, like natural materials and all this. That's probably the most synthetic fucking smell you could imagine, isn't it? Like really plasticky and really strange.
Really plasticky sort of.
I've never burnt it, but I mean I should do really. I've still got it somewhere. But it's it's incense for putting in a burner or whatever, and I bet it smells fucking amazing. But I love the smell of like that kind of Scotch tape smell. Anyway, I'm getting slightly off the point because this is I think there's loads of cedar in it. There's loads of like, again, that Isoe Super sort of thing, which it almost dies down to. It almost does that thing that I was just accusing fragrances of, but it just avoids that by smelling a little bit like birch. And I don't mean like smoky birch tar. I mean like what I imagine that white bark. It doesn't smell like this, but it evoked that straight away as soon as you smell it. And it's just the most woody, relentless wood perfume. There's no other angles to it. There's no other anything. It's wood, right? And it's really interesting, and it's interesting that he made it, and I have a sample of it. That's and I wore it.
The sound of relentless wood.
Then I'm wearing Beach Hut Woman today by Amouage.
I don't think I know.
Fucking amazing, right?
Really?
I love it, right? I'll tell you why. Beach Hut Man was good. It wasn't a vibe that I ever thought I wanted. I was like, Beach Hut? What the fuck are these? When they came out. And I tried the Beach Hut Man. I was like, this is great. It's got like salty, weird, like that driftwood vibe, which this also has as well, by the way. So they're tying them in together like they used to with the old masculine, feminine releases. And I love, right, the sort of like woody but like salty kind of relentlessness of the man one. But the woman one is basically has this fruity note, right, that I'd stake my reputation on is under Cavitol, right, which is this kind of fruity. It's a component of violet and rose. It's very fruity though, and very like it's kind of dark. It's almost like berry like. It's wonderful, right? Loads of cashmere in this as well, so it's kind of woody. And the problem is, when I first sprayed it, I was like, oh, okay, so it's got that little sour, like pickle note of Santal 33. So I was like, oh, is it a fucking Santal 33 like bullshit sandalwood with that like papyrus note? You get a little bit of that to begin with, and then it goes like woody, and then it goes, and then this under Cavitol, it's kind of like an almost like purpley sort of rose-ish, but like sweet and like tropical fruity, and then that's just kind of relentless throughout it. And then this like cashmere and like warm, it's lovely, and it's kind of sparkly like amouage with the incensey kind of vibe to it. I think it's great. I love it. I love it.
I shall have to add that one to a list of ones to check out, because that's Amouage is a brand that I've found quite a lot that I like from, although I've not tried that at all.
Oh yeah.
Right, Fliss.
Okay. To be honest, I haven't worn an awful lot of very new stuff recently. Basically, my eldest was off school all week with croup. I had to take him to A&E, and so we had to do a lot of like cuddling and snuggling, and I'm really, really aware that when one of the kids is at home sick, I don't want to smell weird or different. So I spent a lot of time wearing really nice cozy ambers. I know you hate the word cozy, but it was cozy. Mm-hmm. Do you know that thing? So there was quite a lot of Shalimar going down. There was I wear a by Terry called Rouge Nocturne, which is rosy and patchouli like, and it was, I think by Terry are actually a really underestimated brand. They make very nice clean stuff, but it's also
Terry de Gunsberg.
Yes, yeah. I think she's recently had the stuff. Her perfume line's recently been taken over, but when it first came out, there were some really good quality releases, and Rouge Nocturne is just a lovely dark rosy patch. Comes across quite baby powdery but not sweet, and it was like one of the only perfumes I could cope with when I was pregnant and breastfeeding, and so I really relate it to like the kids and stuff, so I was wearing a lot of that, which is really nice. I bought, very excitingly, Mer Ardente from the Yannick Goutal line, the same line that did Ombre Fetiche. And it's quite hen's teethy, and I managed to get 100ml off vintage. Yeah, and it's not that same beast as Ombre Fetiche. It's kind of like a really cola-y myrrh, very sweet without going too vanilla-y, but a lovely soft veil. And I had 20ml that I'd been saving and not wearing, but obviously now I've just bought another 100ml. I can wear the fuck out of it, so that's nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, vintage, because I remember you mentioned it the other day, and I thought, I've seen the advert on telly. I didn't really know about it, but is it good for perfume?
I wouldn't say it's anything. The community is nowhere near as big as eBay, but at the same time, I think what is on there is probably not. I think eBay can be, depending on what you're looking for, there's a lot of fakes and shysters out there.
It's
you
a
have to
shark's nest.
It's a shark's nest. And I have got a couple of kind of like trusted sellers on eBay that I know as a vintage collector, if I go to those people, it will be good. And I tend not to buy from general perfume sellers, you can tell, can't you? If someone's just clearing out their nan's cupboard, they've got like some shoes and some shit jewellery and like a large like number of skirts and bits of cashmere jumpers, and then they've got the occasional bit of vintage perfume. And you're like, well, that's not going to be fake because you can tell that's just someone clearing out. But there's a lot of sellers on there that I think you've got to just be careful of. But vintage, I think, is a lot of people just clearing out shit. So in general, it's not as expensive as Etsy. So Etsy has got like a load of vintage sellers, but they all know what they've got. So you're not going to get a deal on Etsy. I think you can still get a deal on Vinted, if that makes sense.
Okay, well, that's worth knowing, isn't it? That's for the listeners.
Cool.
It depends what you're looking for. For vintage stuff, I think you're going to be okay.
I've not checked it out at all, but I may go and have a nosy around. Cool. Anything else you wanted to mention?
I wore a sample of My by Vogue. May.
What a perfume that is.
Oh my God.
Ben's come to life.
I mean, I know I said I was just wearing like cozy ambers, but I counted that as a cozy amber, and then I put it on.
It's ginormous.
I wrote a thing about it on Facebook, and like everyone was like, "That's not a cozy amber, Fliss," and I was like, "Oh, it is on me," and they were like, "No, Fliss, you're wrong." But yeah, I'm sniffing the cap now. Oh my God. Oh, it's just full. It's full of everything. It's just that kitchen sink and the civet and the musk and the florals and the ambers and the chypres. It's just everything. But when you wear it, it feels like a seamless kind of scarf. It's so fuzzy, so furry. I find it incredibly comforting. I know some people were like, "Oh, that's really challenging, Fliss. You're brave." I was like, I don't think it's brave. I just think it's lovely. But that's just me.
It goes on like it's one of those perfumes, and without sounding too much like a wanker, it's like it goes on a journey. Do you know what I mean? Like it properly changes like 2 or 3 times, like during the wear.
Wanker. Boy, wanker.
It reminds me in a similar way of Diaghilev. It has that same big feel, and it does smell incredibly expensive because it is, but at the same time, I think there's a softness to it. That for me melds with my skin. I think it's just my chemistry, but it doesn't feel like I'm filling a room when I wear it. Like you say, it's leathery, it's floral, it's dirty, it's animalic, it's bright, it's not bright. There's a whole heap of shit going down.
It is an excellent perfume, but I think I can understand how somebody who's not acquainted with that kind of thing would be a bit overwhelmed by it to begin with, because it is full.
It's a lot of stuff going on, but I really enjoy it. I really enjoyed that, which is great. So I think that's something I'm going to have to pop on my list.
I actually sold my bottle of that.
What the fuck for?
I don't know. I just wasn't really wearing it, and I was just like, I just sell it. And
did you keep yourself 10 mil back though?
No, I didn't.
You twat.
I know it's probably one of the only ones that I really regret letting go. Actually, although I'm sure I can buy it again, but yeah, don't know what I was thinking. Moment of madness, really.
Moment of madness. Yeah. Okay. Anything else from yourself, Fliss?
My lovely friend Claire Bradshaw sent me a sample of Bengal Rouge by Papillon.
That's brilliant as well.
Just lovely. So it was. And I know we've had this thing about like honey perfumes in the last couple of episodes, and I'm always like, I don't want to smell of honey. This is honeyed, but it's not just that. There's a load of other stuff coming in, so it feels like it's not that cloying honeyness, but I can still smell that honey sweetness in it, and it feels a little bit hayish and tonkerish, but there's a load of other things as well, and I've really enjoyed wearing it.
It's really excellent.
I love that.
Yeah, I've had that's been on my wish list for the longest time, and it's always slips my mind to buy it, but it's really good. I remember sampling it and just like from the first second I smelt it, like bowled over by it and thinking this is bang on. I really liked it,
and perfect for this kind of weather as well. That I just find it I know Dan's going to roll his eyes, but I find it very cosy.
Stop fucking saying cosy.
It is extremely cosy.
Wafts and wafts of cozy.
Wafts of coziness.
Do you know what it's inspired by? I mean, the name pretty much gives it away.
Bengal cats, isn't it?
Yeah,
she's got a Bengal cat,
Liz
right?
Moore's.
Like the perfumer, yeah.
Yeah, it's like her because she sent me that one, and then it got lost in the post, and I was like, oh, like gutted, it's like not arrived. So bless her, she sent me another one, and I was like, absolutely just love it. I mean, the quality of the materials, like you say, it's really like loads of like benzoin and loads of like the real like sandalwood in there and stuff. It's just everything. It's so like rich and like warm and all the kind of like orangey sort of. It's like wonderful. And yeah, it's based on like kind of snuggling into like a cat's like tummy kind of like vibe, and I do that to my cats all the time. So yeah. I mean, my cats smell amazing. I don't know like what it is. Like maybe they just like pick up bits of stuff, but they smell great. So
weird. Because my dog smells like shit.
I was going to say, I've got a cat that's dying and it smells like death. But I know, bless her little heart. But yeah, so I was wearing Bengal Rouge and I was snuggling my son. So that was nice. That's me done.
Okay, and Ben, did you say you've got a Bengal?
I've got a Bengal and she smells like noise and pain because all she wants to do is just shout, scream, jump all over me, fight with the dog, climb up everything available. So yeah, I don't really know where... If I made a perfume, it would be heinous.
Heinous. Brilliant. Excellent. I'm just going to jump in there because I wanted to actually just riff on something that Fliss said. So I also have been in touch with young Bradders this week, and I scored from Claire, and I know she listens, so hello, Bradders. But I scored a bottle of Amber Fetiche. Finally. So finally, first iteration Amber Fetiche, and that shit is nuclear. Like 4 sprays of that, and like 10 hours later, it was still almost unbearably strong. It's brilliant. Just on the subject of strong perfumes, actually, there's a few things I wanted to mention, actually. On the subject of strong perfumes, though, I took my daughter to a party last night. She had, she claims she only did 10 sprays, but I reckon she must have done about 50. And it's a Arabian oud. It's called Al Farid, which comes in, like, as most Arabian ouds do, it comes in this absolutely ghastly sort of bottle. But it's actually a really good sort of slightly sour floral musk, and I really like the perfume, but she was wearing so much of it that I had to crack the windows on the car. I mean, bear in mind it's freezing as well, but I'm like, fucking hell, this thing's just like sucking all the air out of the car. And I got back home half an hour later after dropping off, and the whole house fucking stank of it for hours after she'd left.
This is the monster that you've created, Dan.
I know.
Is it one of your cast-offs, or did she pick it because it had a fancy bottle? Did she just
neither? No. Much more sophisticated than that. She picked it because she likes it, and so it's not a cast-off of mine. I've got cupboard in here. It's in my study because I have to keep it away from if it's the only place I've got enough storage for it. And every day before school, both the kids come in. They both just help themselves to perfumes. They both know most of my perfumes, and they've both got bastard expensive taste, and it's very annoying. but anyway, so Al Farid. I was I'm going to link a few things together, or attempt to, in a sort of radio DJ segue sort of style.
I love this idea of this 16-year-old going to school in a Rose of Dove.
Yeah, mate. You have no fucking idea. It just... what did she wear? She wore the other day. She wore Oman Luxury Overdose. It's like came back from school. I said, "Oh, you smell nice." She said, "Yeah." It's a Oman luxury one. So, oh, right. Could you not use that? She said, yeah, lots of people told me I smelled great, though. So, I wanted to quickly mention as well that I'd retried Oud Infini because I got a sample set from Dusita, and I thought, yeah, I should revisit that. My opinion has, I suppose, evolved slightly. I still don't like it, but I can at least now appreciate it for what it is. It's amazingly fucking fecal. It continues to be amazingly fecal, and there's nothing nice about it for the first, I'd say, couple of hours. But then as it settles, it does have that sort of incredibly majestic, chic sort of vibe to it. And I can totally see why people would wear it. I would not want to be anywhere near anyone else for at least 2 hours, after applying that, though. So it's not a very practical perfume. That both the Ambre Fétiche and the Oud Infini link back to previous episodes, of course. Another one that I wore also links back to a previous episode, which is the Aids de Venustus Iris Nazarena. I love that perfume. Just fucking love it. It is absolutely, I mean, if it was, well, it's actually reasonably strong anyway. It's quite durable anyway. I was going to say if it was stronger, it could well be the perfect perfume, but it's amazingly lovely. I really enjoyed that. Just a couple of other randos. TK Maxx sales. So I scored a couple of Amarouds in the TK Maxx sales. One of which sort of surprised me, which is Wet Stone by Amaroud, and it's quite a lot like Tom Ford Oud Mineral, which I really dislike, except I like the Amaroud. And so where the Tom Ford goes kind of like quite grotty, quite grimy sort of texture to it that I don't like, the Amaroud manages to stay sort of fresh and sort of clean with a sort of saltiness in the background pretty well all the way through. And they make some really good perfumes, Amaroud.
That right there is something that I'd like to explore, and we have touched on it before, but I think this would be a good episode, is things that are virtually exactly the same that everyone will go, oh, it's exactly like this, that you hate, but you actually love. Now, I did try to establish a chat about this on Fragrantica like years ago. I was like, have a look in someone's like wardrobe and ask them, like, why do you love this and you hate this when they're like quite similar to me? And nobody fucking responded. I don't think I got anybody. And I was like, that's a brilliant fucking idea. Anyway.
It is. It's quite a nuanced. It's quite a difficult subject, I think, because it really does require you to think about it. But I would say straight away that the Amaroud versus the Tom Ford, that's a gimme. There are also some perfumes that I suppose are in the vein of Tuscan leather, even though I hate Tuscan leather, that I can tolerate. I wouldn't say love, but I could tolerate. So yeah, there may well be some mileage in there. But TK Maxx Amaroud sales, that was a bit of a bargain. And the only other one that might be worth a mention is Caron pour un homme pour le matin, which is really quite pleasant. I mean, it's very serviceable. It is a bit like a Ventus Cologne, though. Nice, inoffensive.
Which came first?
Oh, the Aventus, definitely. Yeah, this is a new Caron release.
Oh, it's a new Caron.
Yeah, someone told me that Caron had recently been acquired by another company, and so they were pumping out lots of new sort of flankers and bullshit. And I have to say, this is definitely what I'd see as being the more market-oriented end of Caron stuff. It's pleasant, mass appealing, but very enjoyable. So anyway, those are some of the things that I have been wearing in the last couple of weeks, and of course I have tried the Belle Aim Arm however you pronounce it.
Bellam.
Right, Big Worm.
Can we do some news? Or is
no,
that, no?
I need to ask Big Worm what he's been wearing.
I've been wearing.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Big Worm.
Three.
Big Worm. Three?
Yeah.
Three whole perfumes?
3 whole perfumes this 2 weeks. Firstly was, I can't remember what got me into it, but I picked up L'Archetypal Perfume Noir Exquise, which is, I think it's because we were talking about something on, about Christmas perfumes maybe on WhatsApp. And so I sort of picked it up and got into that for a couple of days. But if it's like a chestnut kind of thing, which to me smells a lot like, for the first like 10-15 minutes at least, it smells a lot like By the Fireplace by Maison Margiela, but it does kind of evolve past that, and whereas Maison Margiela kind of stops, like you get that initial smell and that's what it really smells like forever, Noir Exquise kind of moves on from that a little bit and becomes something a bit more sort of fuller and has like more of an ambery sort of like base that it dives into, but it's nice, it's good, it's still has that kind of chestnut trick, if you like, that's kind of like almost gimmicky, but it's nice. I like it. I don't know, nice. You guys all seem to have smelt it. What do you reckon?
I hadn't smelt it for ages. And the last time I did, I think, was just a tiny, tiny mil sample. And I don't remember being that bowled over, but it could just be that I was in a bad mood.
No, it's I'd say it's fair appraisal. It's like, if you like By the Fireplace, it's like a niche version of that, if you like, you know, and it does sort of go places a bit more, but it's still. I would still only put it like middle.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it because you were thinking about that Christmas song, that Chestnuts Roasted on an Open Fire song?
It might have been, yeah. Because we are getting near that time.
You said it's nutty, didn't you?
Yeah, it's got like chestnuts. Yeah.
Nice.
I don't think I have tried it, unless you sent me a sample of it or something.
Don't think so, but I can. It's very powdery, sort of. But I imagine like I will, because if we're going to do something sort of like about Christmassy frags or something.
Ooh, yes. Well, we have to do Christmassy stuff. I mean, we're only like
it will go
5 weeks away for Christmas. So,
I shall send out samples to you guys of it for that then.
Yeah, I'm just reading what I wrote about it the last time I tried it. Swift, nutty opening, quickly to a scratchy, boozy, dark vanilla. More synthetic than I was expecting from this house. It's a pass.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair appraisal. I quite like it, but like but I can probably fair appraisal, to be honest.
Did you get it cheap though?
Oh yeah.
Where have you got it from?
I don't ever buy anything like full price. I'm like Mr. Cheap. Like, I bought it off one of the Facebook groups at some point.
Never pay retail. Never pay retail.
Never retail.
And on that note,
good.
Another one that I bought cheap off of the. Penhaligon's do like the no box sales. Picked up something off them. Iris Prima a long time ago, and now it's been discontinued. And I think a bit of a sought after one.
Yeah.
Really?
No,
I've never heard of it.
Isn't that a Bertrand Duchefort?
No, it's another. I should look this up because it's a big guy that everyone knows. It's Marillas, I think.
Oh.
It is.
Yeah.
Big Bert.
Yeah, and it's
Big Bertie.
It's an interesting one in that it's exactly what you'd imagine when you say it's a Penhaligon's, in that it's kind of middle of the road. It's not really pushing any boundaries. It's a bit kind of soft, but it's really good. It's a strong iris, and it's a thick iris and quite dry. It's not, doesn't really go to that kind of like horrible purple, like kind of violet sort of iris area that it could.
It's inspired by Prima ballerinas, and so there's an element of the leather soles of their ballet shoes.
So the patch on the front is a suede patch from the bottom of a ballet shoe.
And it really does, I remember it quite strongly being a good evocation of that. And there's a strength behind it. I totally agree with you. It doesn't go to that puffy, sweet thing.
No.
It's nice.
It's interesting. And it's very fresh as well. It has like a sort of citrusy sort of edge to it that keeps it. And I quite like the way he works the citrus edge to it, in that you wouldn't ever call it necessarily a citrusy perfume. You might not even point out like this smells particularly citrus. It's almost used in this way that it just elevates it and keeps it bright. And the iris, it never takes over the iris, so it's just sort of like propping up the iris the whole time. And it's done really well, and I really like it. And I've barely worn it because I got it just because it was fairly cheap and it was, you know, on sale, and it was an iris, and I thought, wow, I like iris perfumes, give it a go. Benched it almost straight away, but I've been wearing it a lot these last couple of weeks, and yeah, it's really good. I like it a lot.
I think it's one of the ones from their older collection that's been discontinued that I regret not having from my memory. Yeah.
It sounds all right.
Yeah.
There's one more. Go on.
Yeah, go on. So the last one is just I think I might have sort of spoken about it before. Mask Milano Russian tea.
Oh yeah,
which is
you have. You're quite a fan.
Strong Cade opening. It reminds me of T-Rex by Zoologist, but without any of the florals. It's just this like hardcore labdanum leather smoky tea thing, but it's bloody good. I really like it. It's nothing more to say about that really. It's quite clearly like a labdanum tea thing. It's a little bit sweet and ambery, but it reminds me of the base of T-Rex, but without any of the flowers.
Isn't there a vetiver one that you really like from
Hemingway?
From that brand, Hemingway.
I really like that. It's probably I'll probably empty that bottle and I'll be gutted when I do. I saw it actually. There's one on eBay for 45 quid, and I was thinking about getting it as a backup, and I've never got a backup of anything because why would you? But this one, I fucking love Hemingway. It's so good.
The thing is, right, I remember trying some of that brand. Definitely tried that one. I've definitely tried Monte Cristo. Definitely tried Tango. And I remember really liking like all of that, thinking these are really great. And then I just kind of have never really sort of connected with the brand. And then you've mentioned them on here, and I've thought, oh yeah, I'm going to get. And every time I've gone to get samples, they're always sold out. From wherever you can get them from in the UK, they never seem to have the sample kits. I mean, they're quite expensive anyway, aren't they? They're discovery sets, but like I've been willing to buy one a couple of times, and I just can't get hold of one. But yeah, interesting brand, and I think they've done some really. I have tried that Russian tea one as well. I like to say there's nothing that I disliked, and yeah, I think they're an interesting brand.
As a brand, I think they're quite. They're quite creative and pushing. Like they push boundaries a little bit. Like it's nothing. I've never smelt anything from them and thought this is sort of redundant. And you know, they're all doing something. I mean, that Monte Cristo that you mentioned. Fuck me, that's a. I mean, if you like pissy perfumes, that is just pure like animal's piss. It's brutal. Is pissy, yeah. I think it's got. Is it Hyrax? It's got in or something, and it's.
Yeah.
Oh God, that it smells like a hamster's cage.
So.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay.
That's what I've been wearing these last few weeks.
Groovy. So let's have some news. I think James, you said you had some news.
I've got two news segments. One. Jeremy Fragrance is doing Big Brother in Germany, apparently, just for the trash. Just for the trash. Did you not know about this?
Is he on? Like, is that on now?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
But he's actually in the Big Brother house now.
Correct. Yes.
Wow. I've got to see that.
Why would they let him do that? That's not fair.
No, I thought they had like a psych evaluation.
It might be the intervention he needs. You never know.
Well, true. I mean, he might excel. He might, really shine in there. He might be a really nice person. I just don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Jeremy Fragrance is in Big Brother. We don't really care about that.
Interesting.
Good for him. So then Hermes are releasing a child's perfume. Do you know about this? Have you heard about this? Do you know about this?
I always find that slightly weird.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. It comes with like a little spinning top, like a little dreidely thing, and like, all the beautiful like stuff that folds out that Hermes do. I got some, they do those scented like cranes. Do you know this about Hermes? They do.
Oh yeah. You mentioned this before that they and that they're like you. Put
apparently
them in, like,
so. Yeah. Like I didn't know they were for that, but I think my missus told me, and I was like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. But like they do beautiful, like just really lovely. if you saw it, Fliss, right, you'd say, "Oh no, who likes Ben or so?"
Oh my god!
Sorry, go on. Have you found it?
Oh no, sorry.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, everybody's like, "Oh, that's creepy." I think it's quite charming when you look at the actual, the little offering that you get. It's like a little.
I really want that bottle.
There you go. There you go. What's it called? What's it called? That's
Cabriole. Hermes Cabriole. And it's got a little child, to describe it, it's got a little child in like a onesie riding on the back of a horse.
Yeah, it's cool.
But it's like illustrated.
It's very Hermes though, isn't it? It's very classy. It's like the kind of kid, you know, that like...
Yeah, okay.
And it's honeysuckle.
Alcohol-free
It's honeysuckle
Yeah, it does.
and
It sounds
osmanthus.
delicious. They haven't actually said on Fragrantica that it's for kids. It's for men and women.
Well, yes, of course, it's not for kids, but let's just hang on. I'm sure he won't.
Yeah.
It says it's alcohol-free,
No,
so they can't
I totally
drink
get
it.
what you're saying. I just find any of those... I mean, a number of companies have done it, haven't they? Released children's perfumes. And I find it a bit like... Kids are not meant to smell delightful. They're meant to be up to their fucking arseholes in mud and banana and peanut butter. Yeah, I mean, and that whole kind of, putting your kids in little white frou-frou dresses or making them perfect and clean, and then they have to smell nice as well. I find all of that ick. I like to smell nice, but that's my choice to push that onto a child that should be running around, picking its nose with his finger up its butt. That's a different thing,
So,
can I saying?
I do know what you're saying, I do. But, I think sort of, slightly... well, I don't know if it's a nice little stocking filler for sort of, middle class or like posh children, maybe. No, I'm sure he won't mind me saying this. So shout out to Clayton Iowalia. I was like, I hope that's right. Sorry. He said because he was at like the launch thing for it, and he had like the chat with Hermes and stuff, and he put it up, and I was like, oh, that's really charming with all the little bits and all the stuff you get with it, beautiful packaging and all that. And I saw the bottle and was like, oh, that's really cute. And he said, I like that Christine Nogel didn't want to base a kid's fragrance on orange blossom, since in France it's an ingredient often linked with innocence and childhood. So the replacement is osmanthus with honeysuckle. It's still very clean, not so indolic, and the osmanthus isn't very leathery like other interpretations. A very easy wearing scent. That's what he said. So, yeah.
It's interesting. I'm just looking at the Hermes homepage now with it on, and again, they're not marketing it as for children. It says it's an invitation to find your inner child. So it's very careful what they've done. But
Absolutely.
They've also said alcohol-free formula Cabriole is suitable for delicate skin, children aged 3 and over.
Well, there you go.
So they've very cleverly said, not marketing it for children, it's for your inner child. However, you can still spray it on your child if you wish.
You've got to hedge your bets if you're in that game, though, haven't you? So that's
totally.
But the idea of honeysuckle and osmanthus to me sounds heavenly.
Oh,
right?
It sounds delightful, and I love her work. I mean, I think that she does really lovely stuff.
I don't particularly.
Nigel.
Yeah,
fuck off. Her work.
She does really. Oh.
No, she's fucking systematically flushing that house down the toilet, mate. I honestly, I'm unimpressed. I've been so bitterly disappointed by what she's done in terms of.
Give us some good ones, Fliss. Come on,
flankers.
let's be positive here.
I'm just
H24, my balls.
Well, so I found like a media press thing for this Cabriole, and it says that it's designed to evoke the scent of a child's cheek. A velvety osmanthus base along with fresh honeysuckle scent, accompanied by notes of sandalwood and apricot. Created for children, the formula is alcohol-free and works on delicate skin. And she says that I sought to create a comforting and highly distinctive scented water that signifies the bond between parent and child. I wanted to make a digression, a joyful leap towards a new proposal. Deliberately moving away from orange blossom, I used osmanthus and honeysuckle to express in a different way the great fondness I feel for childhood, a time of fearless experimentation and insatiable curiosity. This eau de senteur is an invitation to prolong this state of mind, made of play and freedom for as long as possible. So there's the full.
I think Twilly is very good. She does Twilly all the Twilly flankers, which I think are excellent.
Did she do the original Twilly as well?
Yeah, and she also did Galop de Hermes as well. I have to admit, the stuff that she doesn't do, that she's done outside Hermes, I'm not so bothered about. But I think that Galop de Hermes is lovely, and I also think that the Twilly and the Twilly flankers are very good.
I agree with Galop. I think it's. I'm a late kind of, appreciator of that, but I think I love it.
However, I will agree with you, Dan, because she totally fucked Air de Hermes up the line with that intense vetiver. That can go fuck itself, because that really... Yes.
H24 is not great. She's done a few of those, like the Citron, the Garden ones, which are bad.
So I take it back. I think some of her work is lovely. Some of her work is bobbins.
Some of her work is adequate, I would say, and indeed a fairer judgment you will never hear. Right, I think.
But let's not forget. Let's just give her credit for she's had huge shoes to fill at Hermes.
She has, and she's, really managed to not quite do that. So kudos on not quite getting the job done there. Right, I'm feeling particularly antsy and would like to wrap up part one there. So thank you for all your absolute twaddle. It's been 90 minutes of sheer bullshit. We will be back for more bullshit after this short musical interlude. Hello and welcome back to Les Oderants, the greatest show on earth, trademark. This week we are going to be talking about archetypes, and this is something that I guess has been on my mind a bit recently, is this idea that for any given genre there is an archetype. There is, the fragrance that sets almost the tone for all the others. Now, I guess we need to be a little bit more circumspect about it. It can't just be the first one that was ever created. So, if we're picking Fougère, it doesn't have to be, Fougère Royale by Ubigant. Just because it was the first one doesn't mean it is the archetype by definition.
Oh, well, you fucked mine now, haven't you? Fucking hell.
All right. Well, guess what? Guess what James is choosing? But yeah, no, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. So I think almost like, so rather than archetypes, maybe it's reference points, but...
well, no, I knew that, and I'm just winding you up.
Good.
Because, it's because that's me, isn't it?
You are a bit of a wind-up. And I think what we're going to do is pick some genres and work through them and see who's bringing what archetypes to the table. What are the sort of reference points you bring? And I mentioned Fougères and Ubigant Fougère Royale. Can I just ask, does anyone actually have Fougère Royale as their reference point for Fougère?
I do, but let me just... Because what you...
You go first then.
Well, what you've just said there, right? For a start, the whole reason that I did that is because we had the whole discussion around what is a fucking archetype in the first place. We all had different ideas on, like, I think Ben and I, and maybe Fliss, I think we were all sort of maybe overthinking it, which is like what happens all the time, because it's actually like when you sort of condense it down, it's actually a more simple thing. What you meant and the definition of stuff, and we go through this all the time with various different things. Anyway, what I will say is I did pick who began Fougère Royale. I was completely aware that it's the most boring obvious pick, but that was the whole point, because my other ones are not that at all. are complete like, what? Why is that your fucking archetype? So that's why I picked this one, because I was like, I've got to have one in the same way that we talked about number 5. Well, Fliss talked about number 5, right? You kind of have to talk about it, right? And in the landscape of fougères, I actually really like the Fougère Royale. Okay, so we're not talking about the original one anyway. Now, if you do want to talk about the original one, it had a pioneering use of the first sort of extracted coumarin. So it was literally the whole vibe of the Fougère was made around the fact that they could isolate coumarin, and that they could use that as a perfumery material. So, you know, without that, you don't get the Fougère, and then the Fougère became a thing, which is still going 100 years, you know, more than 100 years later. So it's like, I'm not even talking about that one, right? What I love about the modern reinterpretation of it, and this is the whole thing, things can be rebooted, and like you can still go, oh, we've got that heritage and the legacy of that. Let's try and honor it with a new perfume. And that's what was done in 2011, was it? With Fougère Royale. And what I love about it is the patchouli. Now, if you were to write down what is a Fougère, does it necessarily have patchouli in? Well, it's not a complete, like, Lars von Trier fucking Dogma 45 thing. It's not like you absolutely have to stick to these kind of things or else. It's like, no, you can put patchouli in it. But what I like is the way the patchouli is like used. I think it's really clever, and I think it's a brilliant Fougère. Like I looked at my other Fougères, and you could say, oh, is YSL Rive Gauche a Fougère? Don't really necessarily think that is. I know that's an archetype for some people.
I think it is. I think it is, and I think you've always said no. What is it? No warmth, no Fougère. Is that your expression?
Again, I'm not going to completely stick to that, because you could say it's an aromatic Fougère. You could say Paco Rabanne, the green one, is a Fougère. You could say this is a Fougère. That Fougère became a wider, more all-encompassing term than it kind of originally was. And you can say that about Chypre. We've said this about different genres. They all become more expansive, and they start to include more things, because the perfumer might go, let's try and modernize it, or let's try and do something else with it, or because there's always this striving to kind of innovate. And that's fine, right? But Rive Gauche for me is almost its own thing. And I get why people say, yeah, Fougère, it's got the lavender, it's got the kind of powdery, it does have the warmth as well, right? But for me, it's not like absolutely quintessential. I get from it more of the slightly like clovey, like subtle spice note in that, and that's what makes it for me, right? And there's no reason why you can't have that in a Fougère, because it's got the moss, it's got the those kind of like vibes as well. So I guess Rive Gauche is one, and it's one of my, to be honest, that's one of my favorite perfumes. I love YSL Rive Gauche. I think it's amazing. But again, if I was picking Fougères, I'm picking Fougère Royale. That's kind of it, really. You know, okay. I think that's my most. You're allowed to. Yeah, that's my most obvious one, and I think it's good for a reason. And I love the use of patchouli in it.
Okay, so I mean, I think that's a fucking splendid entry into the catalogue, and a great justification. I mean, so Fliss, I'm aware that Fougère is probably not necessarily your most favourite sort of genre of them all, but do you have an archetype in the Fougère category?
I do, and I have a feeling I'm going to step on your toes, because it's Invasion Barbar by MDCI.
Get out! Pick a different one.
I can't. So for me, a Fougère, I mean, yeah, it is not something that I own a lot of. And I don't really, actually, if I'm really honest, I don't really own any full bottles at all. I have the smallest little sample of Derby, lovely Lewis Arky sent me after our chat in previous episode, I've got a little bottle of Dior Jewels.
Is Derby a fougere?
I think it is.
Oh,
I don't want to foreshadow, but wouldn't that go? I've got it under a chypre.
Oh, have you?
Oh, yeah. I would put it under a straight fucking leather, but
well, this is why those kind of perfumes are their own archetypes, because they defy genres, or they cross over them. Discuss.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think they do. I could see the argument for it being a fougere.
For me, they are fougères because they are this masculine, and I know we hate saying barbershop fougères, but for me, they all fit into that barbershop wheelhouse. However, on the edge of the Venn diagram they are, for me, they still smell like that. And we talk about fougères, and in terms of, if you look on Fragrantica, and this is just being very, very sort of like off the cuff, there's got, out of the 1,152 fougères for men, there's 33 that they claim are for women, and less than 100 that they consider to be unisex. So it's very, very much masculine sort of genre. And so for me, Derby and Jules, I would say, although I would happily rock them both occasionally, I don't need a full bottle. And it's the same with Invasion Barbare. I think it's phenomenal. I had a little 11ml when I bought a full bottle of a different perfume from Claude, and he sent it, and I wore it until I used it up. And I think if a partial ever came up, I would buy it, but partials are never going to come up because it's so fucking good. And I love it. I think it's brilliant.
Sorry, are fougere and barbershop the same thing?
Well, I think maybe not. I think barbershop is a section of fougere. I think maybe it's a section of fougere that I like. And we were talking about this on WhatsApp, weren't we, in terms of when we talk about archetypes, are we just going to mention all the big ones, or are we going to talk about the ones we actually own? And for me, if we're going to talk about the ones we actually own, then the fougères that I own samples of or decants of are all barbershop ones. And anything that's not, I don't have, unfortunately. So I'm less capable of taking part of the conversation, but those are the ones I love.
So the distinction, the distinction for me, I think fougere and barbershop do get sort of used to some extent interchangeably, and I think I'd be sort of shooting from the hip rather than saying with any degree of confidence. But for me, it has to have a lavender in order to be a fougere. And I don't know that all barbershops necessarily have a lavender.
No, well, and I think that there's a creaminess to a barbershop that happens with a sandalwood base, that you can have a fougere without that sandalwood base, and it's not a barbershop for me. Well, and that's just my jump in.
Let's hold our horses here, right, and say, what does fougere actually mean? It means fern-like in French. Yeah. What do we think about that?
I don't know.
Exactly. It doesn't really mean anything. So it's kind of like we're putting all this meaning on fougere when it's really about, again, it's really whatever you kind of make of it, because it's so interchangeable. Like you say, you can have the sandalwood there. Yeah. You don't necessarily need the sandalwood there. You can have this there, that. So there's lots of like things that you can sort of plug into.
And I have got lavender perfumes that I wouldn't call fougères.
Exactly.
Or barbershops.
Yeah.
And I think that is what makes it, well, maybe with the benefit of hindsight, I'm retrofitting this goodness around it, but it makes it quite an interesting point of discussion around what's the archetypal fougere, when actually the archetype is essentially the thing that defines the genre. You know, once you pick out a few archetypes, you can sort of say, well, these are the things that essentially define the genre, and things that are of this kind of ilk, this nature, those are therefore fougères. You know, it's defined. It's defined for me as a category of similar things rather than a fucking, you know, a compound or presence of a particular note.
It's like anything else. It's where you define. It's where do you draw the line in the sand and say this is and this isn't. And that's exactly that's why it's so fucking interesting, because so many different people have different interpretations. That's why I kind of gave myself the restriction, because it's like anything else. Sometimes, like in like music, or sometimes I think if you've got restrictions placed on you by something, it almost makes you more creative. It makes you kind of because you sit down with a blank canvas and like a million different synthesizers and different things around, and you're like, oh, where do I kind of start? When if you kind of restrict yourself down and go, no, I'm not going to use this. I'm just going to use these techniques, and so it's what, like I say about the warmth, right? That is my own definition. But I understand that fougere is much broader to other people and maybe has other things. So I've kind of done that deliberately to almost keep the purity of what was intended by the characterization of what a fougere is, right? So that's what I kind of... Yeah, that I'd sort of done that to myself. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not saying anybody else should adopt that, but that makes it easier for me because it restricts loads of other things from being fougères. When fougère could just be this mad, fucking sprawling thing. Same with chypre. That I understand Ben's kind of... I completely understand the categorization of Derby as a chypre. We'll talk about this probably when he talks about it, but like I completely understand that as much as I understand the fougère aspect. So it's very interesting because all these different like genres are like kind of crossing over each other, and you know, certainly with like oak moss and lavender, and you know, even things that have got loads of linalool in, they're going to smell a bit like, you know, and so that's why it's so fascinating, you know.
So Fliss puts me in a bit of a bind here because whilst I would have said Invasion
Still
Barbar, because it is
still say it.
Well, no, I want to use something else. But Invasion Barbar is arguably my favourite fragrance of all time. I just love that perfume. There's just for me that is everything that is fucking magic about perfume. Just the way it just, I don't know, it just. It's amazing. Everything about it is just total perfection. But anyway, I'll think of a different perfume, which again I guess is an obvious one, but for me it's a perfume that every time I wear it, I think, fuck me, I could just wear this perfume forever. Just like every day, if I had to choose one perfume, it's perhaps the most versatile, most perfect perfume. Because I accept that Invasion Barbar isn't necessarily the same, you know, the right fragrance for every occasion and everything. But Nikolai New York Intense, I think, is arguably perfect for anything, like just any occasion, whatever the weather, whatever you're doing. Yeah. Now there is a question: does it actually rise to the classification of fougère? For me, I'd say yes, it does, but I feel like it's not necessarily a slam dunk on that one.
No, according to my warmth thing, then I would say it's more like Eau Sauvage. It's more like a bitter, aromatic scent than it is a fougère. But I completely accept that it could be a fougère to certain people's, you know, standards. And it was one that I had in the mix. Even when we just were thinking about fougères, that popped up and I said, no, doesn't quite meet my criteria, but it was still in there because I understand that it could be in that category.
And just to sort of wax lyrical a little more about it, one of the other things that I love about it is that it's not ludicrously priced. I mean, it's very reasonably priced. You can buy a 100ml bottle for like, I don't know, 130 quid or something like that, which, you know, for what is, I think, probably one of the greatest perfumes ever, that's a pretty decent price, you know. Fair enough, it's not your £10 off Amazon Marber Man, but it is a fucking stunner.
Who's it made by?
Stunner. And, who? What? New York Intense?
Oh, sorry. No, we're talking about New York Intense. Sorry, I thought we were still talking about your pick.
Oh, yeah, no. No, my pick is New York Intense.
Sorry, in light of Fliss picking.
In light of Fliss picking, yeah.
Sorry, I'm still thinking we're talking about Invasion Barbar. No.
Okay, so Invasion Barbar was by Stephanie Bakouche. And I think when we did we did one on an episode on one hit wonders and all killer no filler, that kind of thing, didn't we? And Stephanie Bakouche, I think, was my pick for one hit wonder because she has done lots of other stuff, but nothing on the scale and the immensity of that perfume.
That herbal accord in that perfume, because it's very herbal. I mean, it is like ridiculous with the kind of herbs. That is like the most sort of signature thing. And at the end of the day, 1,000% like Invasion Barbare is a fougere according to my sort of, coumarin and has to have that warmth and all that. I mean, it has tons of warmth. It has almost like, too much.
It's got a musk to it, which I ended up talking to Stephanie because obviously
you're a
posted
fanboy.
Enough pictures of this fucking perfume, and eventually she was like, "Dude, stop fucking tagging me." No, she didn't say that. She was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you love it," and I think I'd posted something about some other perfume. I think it was Rochas Moustache, and she was saying, interestingly, the first version of Rochas Moustache uses a very similar musk to what I used in your beloved Invasion Barbare.
All right.
It's everything about it is just fucking epic from start to finish. But New York Intense by Nikolai for me would be a very, very close second, just because it's such a brilliantly fucking versatile perfume.
And you can go and have a peek through the window and watch her making it as well.
Yeah, I want it. I would genuinely like to do that, and it's such a shame that I don't like much else from the house, if I'm honest. But
there's some terrible stuff.
Particular one.
Yeah, she's got some good ones, but
none of them. I haven't tried any that I thought were terrible, although I've not tried that many. But I've certainly, struggled with a lot of them. But anyway, so that's me. So we've done all three of us, but not Ben on fougere. Ben, hit me up with your fougere.
Well, I think I might be up against it a little bit here because you've laid out some big hitters that are like, classy quality fragrances, and you mentioned, that none of them were cheap, £20 jobbies from Amazon, but mine is.
Okay.
And even in its heyday, it was an underdog. So I'm really up against it. But I'm going with Calvin Klein Eternity.
Does that constitute fougere?
I think so, but I don't know. What do you not think so? It's green, it's aromatic, it's got like the kind of fern side of things, the woody side of things. It's got lavender.
Is that the new one? The ED?
This is the Parfum. Yeah.
Oh, the Parfum.
Yeah, I think it's Eau de Parfum. Yeah. Which, to be honest, is exactly as I remember it from the early 90s.
I was hoping that would pitch up on Amazon Black Friday and get like discounted to like £4 or something daft, but
I got this one off of Notino when it was discounted for something silly. I think it was about £18 for 100ml. And I tell you what, I know that I've picked this because it's archetypal for me because of the nostalgia reasons, because I wore this throughout my early teen period, and I sniff it and it transports me back to all those obviously sappy memories that we've all got of being a teenager. And but I just love it, and I even remember at the time smelling it and thinking, oh, this smells grown up compared to what I had been wearing around that period, and feeling like, oh, this is something different, this is something else, this is a genre of perfume that like I haven't quite tried yet. And I used to wear it as like a 13-year-old, like cocky little 13-year-old, and think like, oh, I'm so much classier than all these boys in their CK1. Do you know what I mean? Like
probably were.
I think, but there is something about a fougere for me, is that they are grown up. I think as a whole, when I think of a fougere, I think of a grown man wearing it. They're not
for boys, are they?
Not.
No.
It's not for boys. And if you were rocking it at 13, then all hail, well done.
Yeah.
I mean, so what do you think? Do you think it's a fougere? Does it count in?
I don't know
James,
it well enough. I'm afraid I can't say.
Do you know what? I tried it in the shop when it came out, that parfum version, and I absolutely loved it. I can't really remember it, to be honest, but I remember it was nostalgic, and I was like, yes, like, why isn't everyone just like knocking out an odd perfume like this still? Because they're great and they're still relevant and stuff. But what I think is interesting is that you've kind of harkened back to a day when I'm assuming you didn't know what a fougere was then. Do you know what I mean?
No idea.
So exactly, it's kind of, we're talking.
The reason I bought it when I was 13 was because it was on sale in the chemist near my house, and it was like the only one I could afford, and it was like, oh, this is
it's as good a reason as any. By the way.
Absolutely, and I think
I'm just looking at it. It is classified on Fragrantica, the source of all truth and total infallibility, but it is classified as a aromatic fougere. So, I mean, that's surprised me somewhat. But there you go.
If you look at fougere, again, aromatic is the key word there, that there's loads of subgenres of fougere. So everything that's remotely kind of manly and maybe has a bit of what's it in it, like lavender or whatever, just gets thrown in that kind of fougere sort of category. Not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying it's broadening everything to. I like using another word, another descriptor, so you can have an aromatic fougere, or you can have whatever, because aromatic doesn't fucking really mean a lot. I mean, to me, I know what I think it means.
It has an aroma.
Yeah, I would say more that an aromatic is kind of like herbs and maybe like citrus, and that's what I think. And like kind of
aromatic to me definitely means herbal.
Yeah.
And having I can't quite put it into words, but there's almost a sort of a sense of diffusiveness of herbs, so that it kind of almost catches your nose, if that makes sense. There's the herbs stand out, the herbal notes stand out. That's what makes.
So would you say that Invasion Barbare is a aromatic fougere?
Yeah, I guess I would. Yeah,
because it's very. I mean, like say, the herbal aspect is what makes it incredible. That's what gives it its signature for me. Because otherwise, you might think, oh yeah, it's a really pleasant lavender. Like, what do you think of Reflection Man by Amouage?
I love it. Yeah. Although it's it's very floral.
So there you go.
It's surprisingly floral for me.
Similar fragrance pushed in a slightly different direction. That's slightly more floral. I would say that Invasion Barbare has got that herbal, accord that is just signature to that perfume. And then you've got that, but they're kind of similar. Loads of coumarin, loads of like a mossiness and lavender, and kind of the sweetness of that and the warmth. So yeah, essentially you can take that kind of basic structure of the fougere and push it in slightly different directions. And I think the Invasion Barbare is the sort of herb. What do you think, Fliss? You picked it, so what? Do you get loads of herbs from it?
I do. I think I get a lot of the lavender, but it's not a lavender frag. At the same time, there is, like you say, there's a spiciness after that initial blast. Which is it cardamom? What is it?
There's violet,
and but it's not floral either. I think that the violet leaf and stuff in it. The reason I perceive it as a fougere, I think, is the lavender, and then there's a fuzzy, creamy dry down, which I associate with a barbershoppy feel, which I also associate very much with a manly fragrance, as opposed to something that I would wear regularly.
It is very manly.
It is.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I guess it smells like an incredibly expensive, old-fashioned shaving foam. I mean, it's so expensive, but it has that feel to it, which I think is why I associate it.
Now, I will just say that there is another note that you can put into, or accord, let's call it an accord because that's really what it is, of tobacco, right? So there's these kind of tobacco-y, similar vibes to Reflection, Invasion Barbar, and if you put a tobacco in there, that can also really, or like that kind of hay, like tobacco, it all adds into the warmth. It kind of ties into the coumarin and all that stuff. And do you know who has actually a really quite good one that I don't want to even mention on here because well, I don't know if we don't like him, but I know Dan does like him.
Aaron Terence Hughes.
Yeah. Yeah. Aaron Terence Hughes, right? As much as like I really don't want to like any of his perfume, there's one of them that kind of is a Fougere theme. Oh, it's called Boss Bastard. Speaking of,
fuck off.
That little tie back to.
You can't call a perfume Boss Bastard.
No, you can't, can you? I agree.
If you call your perfume Boss Bastard, then you're a twat. And if you buy a perfume called Boss Bastard, then you're also a twat. It's just like, I mean, it's like the fucking naming has been done by some, adolescent
Maverick. I think so.
It's not going to stand the test of time, is it?
Boss Bastard. Oh, fuck off. I mean, it's like, and slut. Yeah, I don't call my perfume slut. And why not just call it slag? I mean, yeah, I made this perfume. It's called slag.
Slaggy.
Dirty slag.
It's called, this one's called Dirty Slag. The slag, and then the flanker, Dirty Slag. Fuck off.
I know,
but they may be good perfumes, but those names are straight out of fucking tragedy.com.
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, enough said about that. I think we've pretty much we've covered the Fougere pretty well there, haven't we?
Yeah, let's have another genre. Why not? I like this genre because this genre means nothing. Sport. What's a sport? What is a sport? What's a sport fragrance? Go on, hit me with your sporty choices. Big Worm. By the way, we're calling Ben Big Worm today for no reason. Big Worm, hit us with your sporty choices.
So I went for the obvious, and I sat here for ages thinking, I can't go for this. I've got to pick a better one. I've got to pick something slightly like off the beaten track or whatever, but I can't, and it's going to match up in class with my eternity. Ralph Lauren Polo Sport. I just love it. I just absolutely love it.
Right, from now on, I'm going first, right? I'm going first so that nobody picks you.
But it really
bastards.
is, like, when you think of Archetype, it really sums up, like, it
absolutely
does shower gel so well. I mean, I can't think of a better perfume. Like, I mean, I don't do gym because I'm a rake, but, like, if I did, I can't think of a perfume that would smell better, like, as a kind of shower gel-y kind of thing, right? It's
yeah. So what does sport? What is that? What the sport genre means?
So to me, sport, I always feel like is like a shower gel, clean, very American perfume kind of thing, like that American trend of clean shower gel, really. A sort of high class shower gel. I think. I put for everyone I've put like a slash and like a second choice that I think is like slightly more interesting or whatever. And for me, I think this like borderline is a Galan L'Homme cologne. But that to me is like, it takes some of the elements of the sport, but it misses the key component, which is that shower gel vibe, I think. But that for me is, I think, what makes it the sport. And I say that's why I had to pick Ralph Lauren Polo Sport, sorry.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's just... So my take on sport fragrances is broadly that they tend to be a flanker to some sort of fragrance, and what they do is they make it more citrusy and aquatic and, shower jelly, I suppose. But Polo Sport has no... Unless I'm missing it, but it has no bearing whatsoever, no relationship whatsoever to Ralph Lauren Polo.
Well, And just think about the branding, right? You remember the 90s, right? I was going to say, but it's funny that we're all...
No, I don't remember the 90s.
No, but
it was a haze.
Well, okay. Well, you were around anyway, right?
I was.
So...
I'm told.
But if you think about it, right, I just because of sheer, like, I didn't pick it because I don't really like the actual perfume that much. In hindsight, obviously I wore it at the time. Obviously I liked it. But if you remember, like, Ralph Lauren's polo branding is quite preppy. It's quite like, oh, it's the pastel, like, shirt. It's the pastel polo. It's this, it's that. It's kind of like the deck, like, trousers. I actually quite like that kind of look. Certainly now I'm, an older daddy. But, like, basically, like, the polo sport, the whole logo and everything was completely different, if you remember. All the clothes were based along that line. So it was like the jackets had, like, polo sport and this kind of, like, futuristic, like, squashed writing that was on the bottle. So the whole branding of Ralph Lauren, like, changed to be this, oh, this is the sport version of Ralph Lauren. It's a totally different, like, thing. And that's why that is an archetype, and that is truly the definition of sport, right? You can't get more sport than that. Forget fragrances, forget whatever. It is like the brand actually took sport as, let's make this a sport thing. So
absolutely.
If we were doing winners and losers in this, like, Ben would, like, win that one, because, like, that is, I can't think of a more archetypal sport than that. What do you think, Fliss? How did you get on with sport?
Well, hang on.
Sorry, I'm taking over here again.
I'm bothered that you didn't answer my question.
Oh,
which is about whether or not there is a lineage at all between the Ralph Lauren Polo fragrance, which is that big green coniferous sort of piney sort of thing, and the Polo Sport.
No, because it's not a flanker of that. It's not a flanker of that, is it? It's not.
I never considered it as a flanker. I always thought Polo Sport was a separate thing.
Yeah, I did not consider it a flanker either. But normally, when I think of sport fragrances, and I'm going to pick mine just in case Fliss fucking, picks out my second choice, right? Just to fucking, evil. So this one is Boss Sport, and this really is just a flanker, a sporty, tuned up flanker of the original Boss number one, but it's not number one, is it? It was just called Boss, I think, originally, and this is really good. It does basically smell like the original Boss, but with the sort of citrusy top for half an hour, and then you're into pretty well the same sort of territory. It's not something I could actually imagine wearing and playing sport, whereas the Polo Sport I could. But this is my choice, and it's very nice, and the green bottle makes it super cool and like enjoyable to look at, and it's a good perfume, but it's not. Yeah, I know, Ben wins. Okay, so we move on to Fliss. What have you got in the sport column?
I haven't got anything. No, because I fucking hate it as just
Really?
Yes. It's just awful. There's just so many things about it that I hate. I hate the way that it's marketed. I hate the way that it's marketed as this kind of, stop telling me what to do while I'm wearing your frag. Something sport. It's like, oh my God, you have to be doing sport.
Go play sport.
Go play sport while you wear me and be a man. Oh, and every boyfriend who ever wore a sports frag was just an insufferable twat who thought I should be thinner and wear more beige. And just like, before you know it, you're in a bar and they're talking about being on a triathlon and how they're sub 230. Just fuck off. I just can't bear it as just the way that it's marketed. My vagina dies when people talk about sports fags. I can't bear it. I want to walk into an oak-clad library in a gentleman's club where George Clooney and Ryan Reynolds are wearing Gucci Prom Original because they don't wear sports frags.
So
wow.
I mean, yeah, wow. And not only wow, but I feel weirdly seen and wonder whether perhaps we dated at some point, because your assessment of your ex-boyfriends does sound alarmingly close to the fucking bone over here. I could talk to you about the triathlon if you like.
Sub 230?
But no, sub 230 for what distance would that be? That yeah, I'd be sub 230 for Olympic. Yeah, I would. Fuck yeah. So anyway,
just the kind of men that have it in their bathroom. It's just. I just
it shows a sort of lack of something, doesn't it?
Yes,
to pick
it really,
that. Yeah.
really does. And for me, and there's none of it that I smell and think, ooh.
I wish our listeners could see Fliss's face now. It just like, I mean, the series of expressions she's just gone through. Yeah, well, yeah. She went through rage, contempt, and finally relief. So yeah, pretty well.
I mean, she's right though. Right, because even when you look at the branding of most, and it's a bit like what we were talking about last week with Bleu de Chanel, right, being like the kind of grown-up version. But it's like if you look at the branding of most of the kind of, especially early 90s sports frags, they almost were like, playing the brands down, like almost like trying not to be pretentious or like classy or, they were almost trying to be like, hey, we're just like teenage boys, yeah? Look at this like modern sans serif front that we've squashed up and spaced out a little bit. And
well, it's funny you should say that because that leads into my sport fragrance absolutely perfectly, right? Ben couldn't have said a better thing. Right. So I was going to go with, because I got it recently and I wasn't really asked about it at the time, but I got some samples of like 80s fucking or whatever, really old samples, carded samples. I was like, wow, these are amazing. They'd obviously been kept really well because they were Paco Rabanne Sport, not my pick, by the way. But they're amazing. Like the tops are really intact on it. So it's the Paco Rabanne, the green Paco Rabanne original, but the sport version. And it's really, really good. It's incredible, really rich, like deep bass, great. That's not my pick. My pick, right? My pick is another hot that we foreshadowed earlier by sort of Ben, is Encre Noir Sport, right? Does anybody remember Encre Noir Sport? It came out in like not that long ago, maybe 2013, 14. I know that is a long time ago. However, right, when it came out, there was outrage, including me, right? Because I was like, that is like the kind of fragrance that you'd wear to a funeral. That is the most somber. Yeah. Encre Noir is not a sport fragrance, right? How you could have sport, and people were fucking outraged. Like fragrance fans, go on the thing and look at the original, like when it came out. Scroll up on Fragrantica. Really? You'll probably see me going, "How dare you do a sport version of this? What are you playing at?" And everyone was annoyed, and it was literally like Encre Noir. Oh, this kind of thoughtful, like moody fucking vetiver, like dreary day perfume. Suddenly it's sport, and it wasn't even like Lalique were like reading the fucking room. They're doing this like years and years later. It's like, why? You brought this perfume out, and there'd been all that sport rage in the 90s. You brought this perfume out, and then all of a sudden in 2014 or whatever, you're bringing out a fucking sport version. What are you doing?
Almost definitely it should be like a noir or something, shouldn't it? Like a noir flanker. But instead they were like, sports.
Sport. It was like,
and people were like, kids.
But
yeah,
I feel
what
as
are you doing?
If you put sport at the end of a flanker's name as a way of selling it, because I feel like there must be a group of men who just go, oh yes, it says sport on it. Sport.
I always thought that they were like marketed towards like an American audience, like a kind of clean,
preppy.
Yeah, and that kind of like I mean, it is like I don't know, it's a bit of a stereotype, and it probably doesn't apply to people who listen to this podcast, but generally speaking, the stereotype is like American audience is like they want clean perfume, they want clean shower jelly perfume, right? I always just thought it was just like a home run for the companies to like market a sport, sell it massively in America. Happy days.
Well, that's it. Someone sold the sport originally, and everyone felt they needed to jump on that bandwagon. Even Lily, after like fucking years of being like, dude, you don't have to do this, but they did. Do you know what's ironic about it? It's a great fragrance. It's actually
it's really good. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's actually really fucking good. I mean, and it does follow that sort of pattern that I sort of mentioned before, which is broadly that a sport fragrance tends to be a fresher, more sort of breezy riff on the original. And indeed it is, except with Encre Noir Sport, it's basically Encre Noir under the covers. You just get a sort of slightly more preppy, upbeat top.
It gets you the top notes that arguably you needed anyway, you know?
But I get that, but then call it cologne or légère or something. The word sport is like it's telling you what to do while you wear it, and that is the thing that I hate.
I don't think it's an instruction.
Légère. Légère. Let's just like unpack that one.
Légère. As in leisure. You're pronouncing the word leisure.
No. There's a whole load of fragrances that have a légère flanker. Legere.
What's that mean?
It means leisure.
You cunt.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. If you could see her face now. Yes. Sorry.
There is something around. I just hate the word the sport. It's like.
But it's not an instruction, and you don't.
No, I know
you don't have to comply. Oh my God! It's telling me I have to sport. Shit!
No, I know it's
quick.
Not, but
Noir.
I know, but there's something. I'm not explaining myself very well, but I feel as if there.
No, you are.
I feel as if that it's not an instruction, but it's a really helpful hint for thick people.
Yes, this isn't an instruction per se, but it is a strong hint. Yeah,
thick people do tend to do sport, though, don't they? So you know,
they do. They can smell of whatever they want while they do it. You know, they don't have to smell
as resident
of this.
Thicky. Yeah. Do you know what I wore to the gym today? I wore Duc du Vervan à l'Extreme by
good Hubigant.
Hubigant, yeah. Brilliant perfume, and a fougere. I'd venture to say, probably not a sports fougere, but I wore the shit out of that at the gym today. Anyway, so sport. I think sport worked out really interestingly. So we got the epoch defining polo sport. We got the not so epoch-defining Boss sport, and I think I may have undersold this. By the way, it is actually a really good perfume. It's well worth checking out. Should a sample avail.
I like the bottle.
Itself.
It's very it's the opposite of what we have been explaining sports fragrances about. I mean, that's quite refined, and you wouldn't look out of place.
It is. It's quite elegant, and it's basically got little tennis rackets. So it's more. This isn't. This is definitely more sort of sport, as in the racket club, and
civilized
rather
sport.
than rather than fucking hey sport, do the running thing, all that kind of sub 230 bullshit. So anyway, we got the epoch definer, we got the Boss Sport, we got the fuck off I hate sports perfumes from Fliss, which actually Fliss, I very much enjoyed you in full rant mode.
That was brilliant. That was brilliant.
Yeah, ain't no rant like a Les Oderants, and from the insufferable boy Lard. we've had Encre Noir Sport, which is just, wow, such a wacky fucking perfume. That's amazing. So Sport worked out well.
Sorry, I just looked at the Fragrantica reviews, right, for Encre Noir Sport, and this one stuck out from Plead Insanity that says, not really sure what the thought process was behind this release. Somewhat like trying to turn a funeral into a pool party, which I thought was quite good.
Yeah, that... Brilliant. I like that. Yeah, but somehow it works. It's a great perfume.
It's good. Like I say, it's the citrus top that Encre Noir arguably needed anyway. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like you've just made a perfume, you've given it a bit more, and therefore I like it. And plus, I always talk about that thing of vetiver and grapefruit having that nuke tone like thing that ties them together.
Symbiosis.
Exactly. And that captures it. And that's why people like citrus and vetiver perfumes, because they go hand in hand. Whereas Encre Noir is so bleak and so like devoid of any. It's just loads of like bottom and loads of vetiver acetate, which is a great material. It's actually quite a but it's gloomy.
They should have dropped. They shouldn't have bothered with Sport, right? They should have just dropped the word noir. Because Encre Noir arguably should be the flanker to Encre. Right? And Encre is the one that basically Encre Noir Sport should be. So that's how I would rejig that. And then you've got the Alex Stream version as well, which they all smell more or less identical after half an hour anyway. But just also little shout out to those perfumes, because they cost about fucking tuppence halfpenny. You can get any one of the three for the square root of fuck all. It's quite amazing.
This perfumer who made it made another one called Rouge Bunny Rouge Silhouette, which is like a kind of upmarket version of Encre Noir, with a kind of bit of juniper chucked in to brighten it up a little. So it's kind of a bit like the Sport version, actually, like in terms of it being a little lighter.
But does it go sub 230?
Probably not.
Yeah, that's what we need to know. Right, okay, so let us move along. Okay, so moving along, we are going to go for, I think, probably our final choice of the evening. Arguably my least favourite genre. No, that can't be true. It's certainly not one of my favourite genres of perfume, though. The gourmand. And we have talked about gourmands extensively before. Fliss,
okay,
you can go first on gourmands, and if you pick mine, there's going to be trouble. Although I'll give you some reassurance. I don't know what I'm going to say.
Okay, cool.
Yet, so.
I can't possibly do that then. I'm not a huge gourmand fan. I have a few in my collection, and we were talking about things that we have that are gold standard in our collection, as opposed to things that I put up there as like the archetype. Fave Delicieuses Dior. I think that is pretty much a gold standard. It's sugary, it's cakey, it's very, very cakey. It's got that Christmassy feel. It's very vanilla-y. It's got all of that tonka in it, and I just think, it just tastes. You can taste the cake as you spray it on, and when you're wandering around. The other gourmand that I have that I do like is Saffron Triblon by L'Artisan Perfumeur, and it's not a cakey gourmand, it's more like a creamy puddingy. It's very, very milky and vanilla-y, and it smells like a milk pudding. A creamy milk pudding, and it's delicious to wear, and the saffron really, really stands out. And as a non-cakey gourmand, that's my gold standard.
Well, saffron is such an acquired taste, isn't it? It's such a weird thing that in food, if you like saffron, you're pretty fucking out there. I would suggest, in terms of your taste.
But was saffron in food, you mean, rather than saffron in perfume?
Food, perfume. If you enjoy saffron, I think, yeah.
So in food, saffron tends to have to be used incredibly sparingly. It's one of those things that you have to be very deft with your dosing, as it were. Otherwise, it'll overwhelm a dish. So Is that the same with perfume and saffron materials? Do you have to be super careful with that?
I think it depends on what you're trying to achieve, which sounds like a bit of a cop-out answer, but I think it's true. I think the perfumes that are overtly smell of saffron, I tend to really like. But also, you could make kind of a subtle rose, not subtle, quite a big rose. If you've got other big things in there, the saffron can sit in between them possibly. But like, if you're making a saffron like heavy perfume, then I would argue that I think you've got to be. It's quite an acquired taste because it's very earthy. I call it like the twang. I always say it's got like the twang. It's like leather. It's like really in your nostrils, and it's like dead earthy and like
I love sometimes as well.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that's so complex that it's really difficult to understand why you like it. You know.
Yeah.
I have a. We've talked about the Xenia Elements of Man range before, and there was some scornful words shared about the naming and arguably having reflected on it, it's justified. But Passion is the saffron one of that range, and it is fucking stupendous. And now I'm gonna try and dig that out for tomorrow. Okay, cool. Right, so Fliss, those are your choices. Just remind me. The second one was saffron. What was your first choice?
Fève Délicieuse.
Fève Délicieuse.
Oh, Fève, of course.
Which can we just? I'll just the Fève Délicieuse is clearly a great choice because one, is that people's like quintessential? Is that your what are we saying, like archetypal tonka fragrance even? Would you say that that's like the best tonka, or like because arguably
I actually did a video about tonkas, and I'm sorry to Dan, I'm going to say it, but Soma Halcyon pipped it, and I think that's a better tonka. But Fève Délicieuse is more gourmandy for me.
Well,
Halcyon. Sorry, did you say Halcyon is better than
on the video? Yeah.
I didn't see it, but I
yeah. Oh, I know. There you go.
I'll have to send you some cash later.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Go
I
on,
think
James.
Fève Délicieuse is interesting because gourmand was already established as a thing that one, people were into. Two, it was kind of a genre that, regardless, like perfume companies or indies or whatever, have always been like catering for, forgive the pun, catering for this kind of gourmand audience who are a bit like furries or something. They're a bit like people who are into kind of slightly weird like stuff, who like love this gourmand genre, and God love them, fair dues to them. But like, I think Fève Délicieuse, not only was it from a really iconic house, a true house, and it came along. When did it come out? Like 2015, 16? 14 was it? Right. So okay, but even still, like that as a thing, it really redefined, and it kind of almost brought it to a new audience. And it is the one. It is the. And it's a great choice, I would say, like, that is one that really defines it, even though, like I say, it was already kind of established, but that one really took it to, like, a whole new, maybe a new audience. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking shit. I don't know.
No, I think it's a good choice, and it's a good analysis. James, on that, what is your pick?
My pick is Chocolate Green.
If you say... Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say Herba Pura then. Chocolate Greedy
by Montal, which is
Pierre Montal.
Yeah, our mate Pierre Montal. So I can be pretty quick about this. I just think that it was a really impactful chocolate perfume
I'm just giggling at the idea that you can be quick about this. James has never knowingly been quick about any review. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Well, you'll see. I'll be quick. You watch. You've said that now. So, no, but I think like I don't really like Montal. We all know that we all think what we think about Montal, but I think as a genre defining like perfume, and I don't own this, by the way, so I know we were supposed to be kind of looking at our own collections, but my collection really isn't that like I don't really necessarily have something to suggest for all of these kind of different things that we have. So I'm saying Chocolate Greedy. I own Vanille Absolu by Montal, which is almost the same thing. It smells like a vanilla wafer, right? And when you wear it, you get literally, I remember the last time I wore Chocolate Greedy, I wore it to work and everybody went, "Can you smell chocolate? I can smell why can I smell chocolate?" And I was like, that's me making that, like everyone smell chocolate, right? And I was like, but that's done what it's supposed to do, right? So I smelled of chocolate that day. But that's only from wearing samples. But the one that I have worn, which is almost the same, to be perfectly honest, is Vanille Absolu, which smells like that, like a vanilla wafer. I don't even 100% know what a vanilla wafer is, but I think it's like almost like a waffle cone or like something. But it's got this vanilla-y.
It's those thingies you get in the coffee shop in Cafe Nero and that.
Oh yeah,
surely.
Okay, yeah, like on your saucer or whatever. Like you usually get them in Europe or whatever. But yeah, that kind of thing. That's what it smells like to me, like waffly, wafery, vanilla. But obviously the chocolate one was more towards the cacao, like cocoa side of things. That's it. That's all. It smells of food. It smells of what it's supposed to. I walked around Tesco once wearing that, and people were going, "Oh my God, can you smell that? Something smells amazing." And I was like, "That's fucking me, right? I know that's me." It's not even like you're not even appreciating good perfume there. You think that's food. You think that they're making. You think that the Tesco bakery are making some kind of delicious like vanilla shit. No, that's me. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Food.
I'm
your food, baby.
Well, it's this insufferable lard is your fucking food, right? And you're like going, I want that inside me. Be careful what you wish for. Do you know what I mean?
Inside me. Hang on a minute. Is that what happened? I don't know. I'm not sure that's exactly what happened. Anyway, right. Okay. Good. Good choice. I don't even know the perfume, but I'm sure it smells basically exactly as it says on the tin of chocolates. Yeah. Okay. Big Worm. What have you got?
Well, so
you're going to say Fev?
No, Fev was one of the came to mind initially, and I was like, oh well, Fev, because that's the archetypal one. But then I actually thought about it, and I thought, no, there's a perfume that takes archetypes, right, and it stomps all over them, and it says, I am bigger than archetypes, and I am better than archetypes, and it's Au Noir by Christian Dior. This is slightly contentious, maybe. Well, the thing is. You say not
it
again.
Is in these parts.
You say not again, and I get that, and I was like, oh, but I've talked about it before. But fuck, man, if you want Gourmand, this is the destroyer of Gourmand worlds. This comes down and it says, cake, fuck you all, smash you all up, and and just take over, and just I'm Gourmand now, and it just like rules
now I am become Gourmand, destroyer of worlds.
Exactly. It's like Fliss said, it doesn't have to be cake. Do you know what I mean? Because this is savoury, if anything, but it's food. So
it's certainly food. I mean, it's takeaway curry.
Licorice is food. Curry is food. I mean, lavender arguably is food. I'm with you. I'm with Big Worm. I'm behind Big Worm. Fucking 100%, 1,000%.
Okay. Well, I went for a more trad sort of sweet thing with because I actually don't own that many sweet fragrances, and also despite me suggesting the topic for this week, I didn't actually prepare, so I'm having to as usual. And the only one I can think of is Les Indémodables Vanilla Havane, which is very chocolatey, very vanilla-y. It's got that sort of cacao note, but it's also got, like, I don't know, a bunch of other
tobacco.
Shit
I get sort of tobacco in it. It's wonderful, that.
Yeah, but it's not. So it's one of those things where when you sort of say, "Oh, it's tobacco," and it's vanilla, and immediately, you sort of you think you know what you're going to get, right? But it's not that. Even though it does have a sort of dried fruits, it just isn't anything close to Tom Ford's tobacco vanilla.
No.
It's
thankfully.
Thankfully, yeah. It's a beautiful chocolatey, tobacco-y pudding of a fragrance, and it's one of the very few gourmands, sweet gourmands that I wear. So that's my choice.
You said it's quite interesting though, because you said something there that sort of stuck out. Like, because obviously I've picked Au Noir because I think it's fucking brilliant, but it's not. If I really think about it, it's not like archetypal. Like, really, if we're sticking to the rules, right? But no one's mentioned Tobacco Vanille. And I thought one of us might have.
Well, interesting. It's almost counter sort of... Au Noir is almost counter archetype, isn't it? Because, I mean, if you think of, archetype in the literal sense, it would be the thing that others in the genre sort of are in some sense derivative of. And I don't think Au Noir is really a sort of creating a whole range of derivative stuff. Au Noir sort of stands alone in its kind of madness almost, and sort of I say madness. It's a very daring, very fucking odd and different perfume, but there's no sort of genre of Au Noir flankers and followers and such like.
Well,
but.
I think
you're going to beg to differ.
Yeah, no. I agree with what you're saying. I think that, like I say, I'm completely behind the Au Noir as a gourmand. I don't think you don't have to back down, Ben. It's fine. I think you just fucking go for that, and you're right. But the tobacco vanille thing, I think the crucial thing that kind of rules it out almost offhand is that it says tobacco in the name of the fragrance, right? So yes, we all know it's a kind of gourmandy smell. It's got the dried fruits, right? It's got the vanilla, but crucially, it has the tobacco, and tobacco will kind of never be edible. Even though, sorry, go on.
Yeah, well, even though I've picked a tobacco fragrance, but then arguably it's just me making a bad choice.
Well, I think tobacco fragrances, of course you would never eat tobacco, but I think they do have a kind of gourmandy edge to them.
There was that time I ate 20 Benson and Hedges.
Oh, you dirty bastard.
I made that up.
That's the end. Isn't that the end? Right, see you later. I'm going to go and retch in the corner.
I never want to talk to you again. Okay. So I think I agree. The tobacco probably takes it out of being an out-and-out gourmand, but I don't have that many that I'm going to have to go and reflect on that really, and next episode come back with a wealth of alternative gourmands. But look, speaking of next episodes, I'm sort of really sick of the sight of all of you, so I think it's time we kind of wrap it up actually. I've got to go hang out with my real friends, and all that shit. So, no, it's been amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and particularly surprising highlight for me has been discussing the sport fragrances, just because that was such a weird sort of genre to pick. I can't remember who suggested it, but it's brilliant because it's just so kind of, I don't know, I've never stopped and even thought about what defines a sport fragrance and, what's an archetype and stuff. And I think we probably all mentally reached for Polo Sport, apart from Fliss, who was like, fuck all of this, I hate them all. But it was superb. So, look, any final thoughts? Ben?
No.
Okay. Yeah. You just like you did a sort of careful looking at the clock and sort of balancing.
I know. I was looking at my notes.
Do I?
And
we've exhausted them.
Yeah. There's nothing that I really want to point out. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Fliss.
No, I've had a blast. It was fun. I'm so pleased I got that off my chest.
Yes. Well, I would like to hear it back like several times. Yeah. In fact, the outtake can just be that repeated. Just, I need to hear it again. Right, insufferable Lord. What say you?
That's it. I haven't got anything else to say. I've said enough, frankly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably true of all of us. All right. So look, thank you. As always, it's been phenomenal, dear listener. Thanks for bearing with us and listening to this absolute car crash of a conversation. If you've enjoyed it, you may need to seek medical attention. All the blah blah is in the show notes, and so please do get in touch. I personally would love to hear from you. I know James has like no interest in hearing from you. No, that's not true.
That's not true.
We would all love to. Yeah, we would all love to hear from you. Yeah, just get in touch. Let us know. Let us know what you'd like to hear about from this here complete bullshit. It's been a laugh, and we'll catch you next time on Les Oderants. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.